Right, let's see if you're ready to take the exam, CompTIA A+. We have prepared 100 practice exam questions for Core 1 and Core 2 combined, V15, the new version of CompTIA A+. Let's start with the questions. A company is expanding its network infrastructure between two buildings located 8 kilometers apart. The connection must support high-speed data transmission, 10 gigabits per second or higher, maintain signal integrity over long distances, and be resistant to electromagnetic interference from nearby industrial equipment. Which cable type should be used to meet these requirements? Coaxial cable, single-mode fiber, shielded twisted pair, or multi-mode fiber? Right answer will be single-mode fiber. So this type of cable is designed for long distance, high bandwidth communications. It uses a small core and laser-based transmission, which allows signals to travel much farther, tens kilometers with minimal attenuation and no electromagnetic interference. This makes it ideal for this case scenario. We have multi-mode fiber, this is the incorrect option, uses a larger core and LED light sources, which causes modal dispersion. This limits its effective distance, typically up to a few hundred meters for high-speed links like 10 gigabits per second. It is not suitable for an 8 kilometers connection. If you have some question on your exam about long-distance fiber, that will be a single mode. Remember, single mode, long distance. We have shielded twisted pair. This can reduce electromagnetic interference due to its shielding, but it's still limited in distance, typically around 100 meters for Ethernet. And we have coaxial cable. This one provides better shielding than standard twisted pair, and it is used in specific applications like cable, internet, or CCTV. Question number 2. A user reports that their laptop frequently displays pop-up advertisements even when no browser is open. The system also redirects search results to sponsored websites and shows unusually high network activity. The issue began shortly after installing a free utility from an unknown website. So what is the most likely cause of this behavior? Worm propagation, rootkit compromise, ransomware attack, adware infection. And the right answer here will be adware infection. Adware, this is designed to generate unwanted advertisements, often in the form of pop-ups, banners, or redirects. It commonly installs alongside free or untrusted software and can run in the background, which explains ads appearing even when the browser is closed. It may also generate excessive network traffic by constantly fetching ads and tracking user activity. Let's have a look at the other options, which is a rootkit compromise. Basically involves malware that hides deep within the operating system to maintain privileged access and avoid detection. It is dangerous though, but rootkits, they focus on stealth and persistence rather than displaying visible symptoms like pop-ups. So we have a ransomware attack. Basically encrypts files or locks the system and demands payment for access restoration. The scenario does not mention locked files or ransom messages, so basically it's not the right answer. We have worm propagation. Refers to self-replicating malware that spreads across networks without user interaction. It can cause high network usage, yes, but it typically does not generate advertisements or browser redirects. Moving on to question number 3. A user is upgrading their workstation to improve performance for tasks such as video editing and virtual machine usage. The system must support extremely high data transfer speeds, low latency, and efficient parallel processing over the PCIe bus. The motherboard has an available M.2 slot that supports PCIe-based storage. Which storage solution should the technician recommend? Hybrid SSHD, 7200 RPM HDD, SSD with NVMe interface, or SSD with SATA interface? Right answer is SSD with NVMe interface. So, an SSD using the NVMe interface communicates over the PCIe bus, allowing for significantly higher throughput and lower latency compared to the basic SATA-based drives. NVMe supports parallel queues and thousands of commands simultaneously, making it ideal for high-performance workloads like video editing and virtual machines. It fully utilizes the M.2 PCIe slot, delivering speeds far beyond traditional storage options. The incorrect options such as SSD with a SATA interface. This one is limited by the SATA 3 maximum throughput, around 600 megabytes per second. While faster than HDDs, it cannot match NVMe performance. We have hybrid SSHD. This one combines a traditional spinning disk with a small amount of flash storage for caching. It offers a little slightly better performance improvements over the basic one, HDDs, but it still relies primarily on mechanical components. And we have a 7200 RPM hard disks. This is a mechanical drive with significantly slower read and write speeds and higher latency compared to the SSDs. Question 4. A technician is upgrading memory in a laptop that requires DDR5 SODIMM modules. To ensure proper installation and compatibility, the technician must select a module with the correct physical pin configuration. Which pin count should the technician choose? 204 pins, 260, 288, or 262 pins? For the A+ exams, you need to know DDR3, DDR4, DDR5, how many pins they got, the modules, the RAM modules. And now we are asking for SODIMM. DDR5, basically that will be 262 pins. Yes, they use 262 pins configuration DDR5 SODIMM, and selecting the correct pin counts ensures that it will fit basically into the laptop's memory slot and supports the required performance and architecture. We have 260 pins. This is used by DDR4 SODIMM modules. We have 288. This is basically corresponds to desktop DIMM modules, not laptop SODIMM memory. The desktop ones, DIMM modules, they are physically larger and they cannot be installed in a lab. We have 204. This is associated with older DDR3 SODIMM modules. They are not compatible due to differences in voltage. Moving on to question number 5. A small office sets up a network where each workstation can share files and printers directly with others. There is no dedicated server, no centralized authentication, and each device manages its own permissions locally. Users can access shared resources by connecting directly to other machines on the network. Which network model is being used in this configuration? Cloud-based network, peer-to-peer, client-server, or domain-based network? So what you can see from this environment, basically, which we have described, we don't have any centralized device. So each device acts as a server and as a client as well. So we are talking here about peer-to-peer. So a peer-to-peer network allows devices to communicate and share resources directly without a centralized server. Each system acts as both a client and a server. And basically, they manage its own security and resources. This matches the scenario. We have client-server. So this type relies on a centralized server to manage the authentication, resources, and permissions. And we have domain-based network. This one uses a centralized authentication through a directory services, such as a domain controller. And in this configuration, users and devices are managed centrally. And cloud-based network, this one depends on the remote servers hosted over the internet to provide services and storage. And again, the scenario does not describe a local direct sharing between machines, not a cloud resources. Right, moving on, guys. Question 6. A technician is configuring a network in an office where users report weak Wi-Fi signal in certain areas. The wired network is already functioning correctly, and the goal is to extend wireless coverage so that mobile devices can connect to the existing LAN without changing IP addressing or creating a separate network. So which device should the technician deploy here? Router, firewall, switch, or access point? All these devices, you need to be very, very familiar. You need to know what they do in order to get ready for the exam. And in this scenario, the right device here will be access point, because access points extends an existing wired network by providing wireless connectivity. It allows wireless devices to connect to the same LAN and subnet without altering the network structure. We have routers. They connect different networks, and typically they perform routing, NAT, and DHCP. Deploying a router here could create a new subnet and complicate the existing network rather than simply extending the wireless coverage. We have switch, operates at layer 2 and is used to connect wired devices within the same network. We have managed and unmanaged switches. You need to be aware for that on the exam as well. Firewall, this one is used to filter and control network traffic based on security rules. We have software firewalls, hardware firewalls. And let's go now to question number 7. We have some port numbers now. They're very, very important part for the Core 1 exam, and you need to know them, the port numbers and the protocols. So let's see what we have here. A technician needs to remotely access a user's Windows workstation with a full graphical interface to troubleshoot an issue. The connection must allow the technician to view and control the desktop environment as if they were physically present. The required service must also use its default port without additional configuration. So which protocol number should the technician use? So definitely here we're talking about remotely connecting to a client's computer. So we have port numbers here. 22, 3389, 21, and 23. All these protocol numbers, we need to know what protocol they represent. But for this specific scenario, we're talking about remote desktop protocol, which uses 3389. RDP allows full graphical remote access to a Windows system, including the desktop, applications, and user interface. It uses TCP port 3389 by default and is specifically designed for remote administration of Windows machines. We have port number 23, which is used by Telnet. This one provides command line remote access. It is insecure because it transmits data in a plain text, does not support GUI here. And we have SSH. This one is something like Telnet but secure. Port number 22. Secure alternative to Telnet and provides encrypted command line access. Again, we don't have GUI here, only command line access, but it is typically used for managing Linux, Unix systems and does not natively provide a full graphical desktop like RDP. And we have FTP. This one is a file transfer protocol, uses port number 20 and 21, but port 21 is used for file transfers between systems. It does not provide remote control. Again, question with port numbers. A technician is configuring an email client that must allow users to access and manage their messages directly on the mail server. The solution should support synchronization. This is a very important part. It should support synchronizations across multiple devices, ensuring that actions such as reading and deleting emails are reflected everywhere. Which port should be configured on the email client? Port 443, 143, 110, or 225. Again, all these you need to know them, but for this specific description scenario, the right answer is port 143, which is IMAP. So, Internet Message Access Protocol uses port number 143 and basically allows email to remain on the server while synchronizing actions like reading, deleting, and organizing messages across multiple devices. So you might encounter some questions that you need, when you see the word synchronization, always IMAP needs to come into your mind, not POP3, IMAP. Port 110, this is used by POP3, typically downloads emails to a single device and may remove them from the server. So we don't have synchronization across multiple devices in POP3. That's the difference between POP3, the main difference you need to remember, and IMAP. Port 25, this is SMTP for sending emails between mail servers. And port 443, this is used for HTTPS web traffic, encrypted one. Nothing to do with emails. Question 9, again, port numbers. A systems administrator is configuring directory services communication for user authentication and resource lookups within an internal network. The protocol must allow querying and managing directory information over the network using a standard non-encrypted port. So which port should be configuring? What are we talking about here? What protocol? We have port numbers 80, port 389, port 21, and port 443. So most of these we have already are familiar with them from the previous question. Port 80, no, that's not the right answer. We have port 38, this is a new one. Some people, they confuse this with the reboot desktop protocol, but the reboot desktop protocol has 4 digits. And we have port 21, port 443. The right answer here, we're talking about LDAP here, Lightweight Directory Access Protocol, which uses non-encrypted port 389. LDAP enables querying and modifying directory services such as user accounts and organizational data. It is commonly used in enterprise environments for authentication and directory lookups. Active Directory. So when you think about Active Directory, LDAP. Yeah. Port 80, this is used for HTTP, handles unencrypted web traffic. We have 443, this is HTTPS, encrypted traffic. We have a secure LDAP, which uses port 636. Also, you need to know this as well, yeah? Port 443 itself is not used for standard LDAP communication. So, yeah, LDAP S. This is a secure one, 636, and the unencrypted, non-secure one is 389. 21 is used by FTP, File Transfer Protocol. Nothing to do with directory services and authentication. Question 10. A technician is configuring a secure file transfer solution on a Linux server. The protocol must ensure that both authentication and data are encrypted, operate over a single connection, and avoid the use of separate control and data channels. The service should also leverage an existing secure remote access protocol. So which protocol should the technician configure? SFTP, HTTPS, FTP, HTTP. So pay attention to the questions, to the wording. And now we are having what? Secure file transfer protocol. So we have FTP and we have SFTP. So we're going to choose the SFTP, Secure File Transfer Protocol. So basically this one is like SSH file transfer protocol and provides secure file transfer by running over SSH, right? And it uses port 22. It encrypts both authentication and data and operates over a single connection, making it more secure and firewall friendly. It also integrates directly with SSH-based remote access. And again, HTTP, we have covered that. Unencrypted protocol used for web traffic. FTP, traditional file transfer protocol that uses separate control and data channels. HTTPS is used for secure web communication. And yeah, it encrypts data, but it is not designed as a standard file transfer protocol. Question 11. A technician is troubleshooting reports of slow connectivity to a remote web server. Users can reach the destination, but experience intermittent delays and high latency. The technician needs to identify where along the network path the delay is occurring between the client and the destination. So which command should the technician use? We have netstat, traceRT, ping, or curl. Well, the right answer will be traceRT. When you see something like needs to verify where along the network path the delay is occurring, that gives you an idea that we are talking here about tracing. We need to trace that path, and this is exactly trace art does. So trace RT displays each hop along the path to a destination and shows the response time for each hop. And this allows the technician to identify where latency is increasing and pinpoint the segment of the network causing delays. The other commands, such as ping, this one tests the basic connectivity and provides overall round trip time, does not show where along the path the latency is occurring. We have curl. This is used to transfer data to or from a server, often for testing web requests or APIs. And we have netstat, displays active connections, listening ports, and network statistics on the local machine. Question 12. A technician is diagnosing a Windows workstation that can communicate with devices on the local network, but fails to reach external websites. The technician suspects an issue with the system's IP configuration, including default gateway and DNS settings. So which command should the technician use to view this information? Tracert, traceRT, ipconfig, ping, or netstat. So we want to see basically the IP configuration, the network configuration for the client, including the DNS settings, the default gateway, and that's what you can do with the command ipconfig, of course. ipconfig displays the current IP configuration of a Windows system, including the IP address, subnet mask, default gateway, and DNS servers. This makes it the correct tool to verify whether the system has the correct network settings to access external networks. Also, if you type ipconfig space /o, basically it will show you all the connections. Ping, we have already known, test connectivity to another device. And traceRT, we had that in our previous question, shows the path packets take to a destination and helps identify latency. Question 13. Users in an office report poor call quality during voice over IP conversations, including choppy audio and delays, especially during peak network usage. The network is handling both data traffic and real-time voice traffic on the same infrastructure. So which action should the technician take to improve call quality? Disable the firewall, enable quality of service, increase the MTU size, or restart all network devices? Enable quality of service. This is the right answer. Quality of service prioritize time-sensitive traffic, such as voice over IP, over less critical data like file download. So by assigning a higher priority to voice packets, it reduces latency, jitter, and packet loss, improving overall call quality. Restarting all network devices may temporarily clear issues, but it won't address the ongoing congestion. Increasing the MTU size affects packet fragmentation. And we have disabling the firewall. This may reduce security, and it is unrelated to improving voice over IP. Question 14. A technician is investigating intermittent wireless connectivity issues in an office. Users report slow speeds and dropped connections, particularly during busy hours. The technician suspects channel overlap and interference from nearby wireless networks. Which tool should the technician use? Cable tester, Wi-Fi analyzer, loopback plug, or tone generator and probe? Well, this is definitely Wi-Fi analyzer. This one scans wireless networks, provides information about signal strength, channel utilization, and interference. It helps identify channel overlap and congestion, allowing the technician to select the optimal channel and improve wireless performance. We have a loopback plug. This is used to test network ports by sending signals back to the device, and a cable tester checks the integrity of wired Ethernet cables. A tone generator and probe. This is a tool. Well, this is two pieces of equipment. They're used to trace cables in wired networks. A technician needs to verify connectivity to a shared network resource and map it as a drive on a Windows workstation. The solution must allow the technician to establish, to view, and manage connections to shared folders using a command line tool. Which command should the technician use? ipconfig, netstat, path ping, net use? Right answer here is net use. So net use is used to connect to, disconnect from, and manage shared network resources such as mapped drives. It allows the technician to verify access to shared folders and assign them a drive letter, making correct tool for this task. We have path ping. Basically, this one combines features of ping and trace RT to analyze network latency and packet loss over multiple hops. So remember, path ping combines the two commands ping and trace RT. You can analyze network latency and packet loss. So we have netstat. This one displays active connections, listening ports, and network statistics. And we have ipconfig, shows the system's IP configuration. A systems administrator is troubleshooting name resolution issues on a Linux server. The administrator needs to directly query a DNS server to retrieve detailed records for a domain, including response sections and query timing to validate DNS functionality. So which command should be used? Dig, nslookup, host, or ping? So we're talking about Linux server. Pay attention to the questions always. So also you need to be aware of a certain Linux commands. I'll be doing more videos on that if you guys let me know in the comments. I already mentioned the answers, and the right answer will be dig. So this is the command, domain information gropper. This is a very powerful DNS query tool, provides detailed information about DNS responses, including answer, authority, and additional sections, as well as query time. It is widely used for advanced DNS troubleshooting on Linux systems. We have nslookup. This one can query DNS records. We have ping, test connectivity and resolves domain name and IP address, and we have hosts. Basically performs simple DNS lookups, but does not offer the same level of detailed diagnostic output as dig. Question 17. A user needs to access a shared folder hosted on a file server within the local network. The technician instructs the user to enter the correct UNC path in Windows File Explorer to directly access the shared resource. What format should the user enter in order to access the shared folder? So we have this drive/shared network/folder C/shared/dept or double/server/shared folder. And that will be the right answer. This is how basically you type a symbol here. I forgot the name of it, guys. And then the name of the server, and then // and then the name of the folder, right? A technician is reviewing the network setup of a small office. Each computer manages its own user accounts locally. And user must create separate credentials on each device to access shared resources. There is no centralized authentication or server managing policies across the network. Which network model is being used? Hybrid cloud, client server, workgroup, or domain joint? Well, we are talking here definitely for workgroup. So a workgroup, this is a decentralized. You need to remember that for the exam. Workgroup is decentralized, domain is centralized network model, right? So a workgroup, decentralized network model where each device manages its own users and permissions. There is no central authority, no users. So users, they often need to separate accounts on each machine to access shared resources. Domain joint systems, this one rely on a centralized directory. We have a domain controller for authentication. We have also user management and policy enforcement across all devices. And client server refers to a general model where server provide resources like resources to the clients. And we have hybrid cloud. This one involves a mix of on-premises and cloud infrastructure, which is unrelated to the local authentication models described in our scenario. A technician is troubleshooting a workstation that can communicate with other devices on the same local network, but cannot access external websites using domain names. The user can successfully reach external IP addresses directly. So which network setting is most likely misconfigured? Very cool question. DNS settings, IP addressing scheme, subnet mask, or default gateway? Well, this one is definitely DNS. So they can access through IP, but they cannot access through hostnames. So this is the job of the DNS, right? DNS translates domain names into IP addresses. If the user can access resources using IP addresses, but not by name, it indicates DNS resolution is failing, right? IP addressing scheme defines how devices are addressed on the network. These are the incorrect options. Subnet mask determines the network boundary, and default gateway allows communication outside the local network. And the user can reach external IP, so the default gateway is functioning. Question 20. A technician is configuring multiple devices on a network. The administrator wants each device to automatically receive an IP address, subnet mask, gateway, and DNS settings without manual configuration. So which method should be implemented? Dynamic IP addressing using DHCP, static IP addressing, manual DNS configuration, or APIPA addressing. So you might see on the exam something like dynamic IP addressing without the DHCP. So when you see dynamic IP addressing, always think of the DHCP, yeah, automatically assigning IP addresses, because sometimes you can see only this one, dynamic IP addressing, static IP addressing. So you know that dynamic, we're talking here about the DHCP. And that would be the right answer here, DHCP server. So DHCP automatically assigns IP addresses and other network settings, such as subnet, default, gateway, reducing manual configuration. We have static IP. Well, this one you configure static IP usually on printers in your office or in your servers. Requires manual configuration. You don't want every time to be changing its IP addresses. We have manual DNS configuration, only sets DNS servers. And we have APIPA, assigns a self-generated IP address when DHCP fails. Question 21. A technician is configuring a network service that allows systems to query user accounts, authenticate users, and access organizational directory information within a corporate environment. The service must use its standard non-encrypted communication port. Which port should a technician configure? Port 389, port 22, port 3389, or port 443. What is the right answer here? We are talking basically here about Active Directory, and Active Directory uses port LDAP for this type of services, and the non-encrypted port is 389. Lightweight Directory Access Protocol, which enables communication with directory services for user authentication and resource queries within an organization. Let's see the incorrect options. Port number 443 is used for HTTPS, which provides secure web communication. Port 22 is used for SSH. This one provides secure remote access to systems. And we have 3389. This is used for RDP, Remote Desktop Protocol. Guys, if you want challenging questions, a lot of them, I recommend you just go to under this video in the description. You'll find our Udemy courses, also with simulations as well. And yeah, you can just also go to proexamsit.com. You'll find plenty of exam materials there, which are really, really good. They will help you as well for the real exam. Question 22. A user configures their email account on both a smartphone and a laptop. They notice that when they read or delete messages on one device, the same changes appear on the other device. The organization requires that emails remain stored on the mail server rather than being downloaded locally. So which port should be configured to support this functionality? Port 143, port 443, 110, or port number 25? Well, here basically what we're talking about synchronization. And the port number that provides, the protocol uses port number 143, which is IMAP, Internet Message Access Protocol. Basically, this one keeps emails on the server and synchronizes actions such as reading, deleting, and organizing messages across multiple devices. POP3, which typically downloads emails to a single device and may remove them from the server, preventing synchronization. So the important things that you need to remember to focus for the exam that IMAP, you have synchronization with IMAP, and POP3, you don't have synchronization, right? After that, we have port 25. This one is used by SMTP for sending emails, not retrieving or synchronizing them. And 443, again, this one is used for secure web traffic. A technician is configuring a legacy file transfer service between a client and a server. The solution requires separate channels for session management and data transmission. The technician must ensure that control commands and file data are handled on different ports. So which port should be configured? Which port provides all this? We're talking about a legacy file transfer service between a client server. So we're looking for two ports. One port, control commands, file data, they are handled on different ports. So we're looking for two ports. We have port 80 and 443, 2021, 110, 143, or 22, 443. Well, here we are talking about file transfer protocol, which uses port number 20 and 21. Port 21 is for control commands, and port 20 is for data transfer. So this separation of channels, this is a key characteristic of traditional legacy FTP communication. We have port 22 and 443. They're used for secure protocols such as SSH and HTTPS. We have port 110. This one is basically POP3, and 143 is IMAP. And port 80, HTTP, and port 443 is HTTPS. A technician is setting up file sharing on a Windows server so that users can access shared folders across the network using a standard Windows file sharing protocol. The service must allow clients to connect directly to shared resources without requiring legacy protocols. Which port should be enabled on the server? 139, 21, 445, or 3389. Now we're talking about port number 445, which is SMB, Server Message Block, enables file and printer sharing in modern Windows networks. It allows direct access to shared folders using protocols like CIFS without relying on other NetBIOS services. The other protocol port numbers, we have 139. This is associated with NetBIOS session services, which were used in older Windows networking environments and less commonly used today, but still you need to know it for the exam. Port 21 is used FTP file transfer, and 3389 is used by RDP. Question 25. A web developer is testing a staging version of a website that does not yet require encryption. The developer needs to verify basic connectivity and content delivery over a standard web protocol before enabling secure communication in production. So which port should be open on the server? Port number 21, 80, 22, or 443. So I'm sure you know this because we have touched that port number in the previous questions. So yeah, this is going to be port 80. So we don't need encryption at the moment. Basic connectivity. Port 80 is used by HTTP, provides an unencrypted web communication. It is commonly used in development or staging environments where encryption is not required yet. Again, 443, this is a secure version of port 80 of HTTPS. Port 21 is FTP file transfer, and 22 is SSH secure remote access. That's how you memorizing these port numbers, guys, by doing a lot of practice test questions with them. That's how I learned them. Yeah, I don't know. You need to find your way of learning. Some people, they learn better when they read. Some people learn better when they see, when they hear. Me personally, still, if I want to learn something, if I'm preparing for some kind of certification, I'm doing a lot of practice tests. It doesn't matter if I have read the material. Even if I haven't read anything, I'm just starting with the questions. In that way, even if I don't know the answer, when I see the explanation, I remember them much easily. That's how it works for me. I don't know for you as well, but yeah, try it out. So yeah, let's move on. Question 26. A technician is configuring a mail server to handle the transmission of large email attachments. The protocol selected must ensure a reliable delivery, maintain packet order, and retransmit lost data if necessary. Which transport protocol should be used? So we have ARP, ARP, ICMP, TCP, UDP. So when you see, pay attention to the questions when you get on the exam. When you see the word reliable delivery, always TCP needs to come to your mind, right? Because TCP provides that kind of reliable connection. So TCP, this is a connection-oriented protocol that ensures reliable data transfer by quarantining packet delivery, maintaining order, and retransmitting lost packets. This makes it ideal for sending large email attachments where data integrity is critical. UDP, this is connectionless protocol. We have more speed here. That does not guarantee delivery or order, making it much faster, but unreliable for large data transfers. We have ICMP, this is used for network diagnostics, such as ping, and does not handle data transmission. We have ARP, is used to map IP addresses to MAC addresses within a local network. Question 27. A technician is configuring a network service that automatically assigns IP addresses, subnet masks, default gateways, and DNS settings to client devices. The service must support communication between clients requesting configuration and a centralized server providing those settings. So which ports should be enabled for this service? 2021, again, we have two pair of ports, 6768, 53443, 110.143. What are we talking about here on this port? What is this protocol name? We are talking about DHCP, and it uses 67 and 68. They are UDP ports, 67 on the server, and UDP again port 68 on the client, right? So this allows devices to automatically obtain IP configuration without manual setup. Port 53 and 443, they use DNS, uses port number 553, 443 is HTTPS, 20, again repetition, that's how you remember. 20 and 21 are used by FTP for file transfer, 110 is used by POP3, 143 IMAP. Question 28. A network administrator is reviewing documentation to ensure that commonly used services are assigned the correct and standardized port numbers across the organization. The administrator wants to confirm which organization is responsible for globally coordinating and assigning these port numbers to avoid conflicts. Which organization performs this function? ISO, ICANN, IANA, and IEEE. Well, you might not have this on the exam, but it is good to know. So, the organization is IANA. The Internet Assigned Numbers Authority is responsible for coordinating the global allocation of IP addresses and port numbers. It ensures that port numbers are uniquely assigned and standardized across the Internet. We have ICANN, oversees domain name systems and works with IANA, but does not directly handle day-to-day port number assignments. We have IEEE, develops networking standards such as Ethernet 802.3 and Wi-Fi 802.11. And ISO, this one develops international standards. Question 29. An IT team deploys a service that allows internal host names to be translated into private IP addresses within a corporate network. Client devices rely on this service to locate internal servers by name rather than by IP. So the technician must ensure the correct port is open for name resolution queries. So which port should be configured? 25, 110, 443, 53. Right answer is 53, DNS. So DNS, domain name system, resolves domain names into IP addresses. It supports both UDP for most queries and TCP for larger responses or zone transfers, making it essential for name resolution. 25, again, this one is used by SMTP, Simple Message Transfer Protocol, sending email, not resolving. Host names, port 443, HTTPS, 110, POP3. And question 30. A network administrator is configuring a secure file transfer solution that uses TLC encryption rather than SSH. The protocol must support encrypted authentication and data transfer while maintaining compatibility with traditional file transfer workflows that use separate control and data channels. So which port should be opened on the server? 22 443 21990. This one is a little bit tricky, guys. You might not be prepared for that, but it's good to know just as an extra. You never know what is going to come up on the exam. It's not included, this port number, on the exam objectives, but for general knowledge and for your future as an IT specialist, you will need to know this one as well. So port 990 is used by FTP Secure, right? Which adds TLS SSL encryption to the FTP, because FTP is a legacy protocol, not used, but with the secure one, with this layer, TLC SSL, we have encryption and security. It maintains compatibility with FTP workflows while providing secure authentication and data transfer, right? The other one, I'm sure you have remembered them already. 21 is used by FTP, 22 SSH and SFTP, which is a different protocol that does not use FTP separate. So have in mind, we have file transfer protocol and SFTP, which works under the secure socket channel, right? This is not port 990, yeah. This is a different one. So we have SFTP and SSH and FTP and this one, FTPS. So don't confuse SFTP with FTPS, right? Don't confuse between them. Port 443 is used for HTTPS. And yeah, guys, that's it. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video. Good luck. Thank you for your, I hope you have stick to the end. Let me know in the comments if you did. Question 31. A company is upgrading its wireless infrastructure across different areas of the building. So the warehouse requires devices to stay connected at longer distances, even with the potential obstacles. Okay, now we have an open office. The open office area has many users and requires higher throughput with reduced interference. And now we have the executive conference room needs ultra low latency and maximum performance for real-time video conferencing using the latest wireless technology. So which combination of frequency bands should the technician implement for which area? So we have the warehouse, we have the office, and we have the conference room, and here are the requirements. So for the warehouse, what we need? The devices, they need to stay connected at longer distances, even with potential obstacles. So what that suggests us, we need 2.4 gigahertz. So for the warehouse, will be 2.4 gigahertz. Now we have the open office. It has many users and requires higher throughput with reduced interference. So is that going to be 6 gigahertz or 5 gigahertz or 2.4? No, that's going to be 5 gigahertz. And now we have the conference room. It needs ultra low latency, maximum performance, and the keyword here is latest wireless technology, which is 6 gigahertz, and that is Wi-Fi 6E. So the right answer will be for the warehouse 2.4 gigahertz. 2.4 gigahertz can penetrate between walls. We have for the office 5 gigahertz. And conference room, the latest one, 6 gigahertz, ultra fast, ultra low latency, maximum performance in real-time video conferencing. So let's see. Yep, that's the right answer. And this is all the information you need to know for the A+ according to frequency bands Wi-Fi standards. So let's start with the first one, which is 802.11a. This one operates only on 5 GHz and supports up to 54 megabits per second and uses 20 MHz channels. So we have here less interference, but shorter range compared to 2.4 GHz. And then we have B. 11B operates on 2.4 GHz, supports up to 11 megabits, a megabit per second, a little bit slower, and uses 20 MHz channels. This one is susceptible to interference, but provides a wider range. And we have G, operates on 2.4 GHz, supports up to 54 megabits per second, and uses 20 MHz channels. This one, G, is backward compatible with B, right? And we have N, which operates on both 2.4 and 5 GHz. We have a higher speed here, up to 600 megabits per second, and we use this here 20 MHz and also 40 MHz channels. And here we have MIMO, multiple input, multiple output for improved performance. And N is backward compatible with the other G, B, and A, right? And then we have these two, which are the newest one, AC. Not so new, operates on 5 GHz, supports speeds up to 1.3 gigabits per second and uses 20, 40, and 80, and also we have 160 megahertz channels. And now here we have multiple user and multiple input, multiple output for better multi-user performance. So you need to remember this, that 11N we have introduced here MIMO, and 11AC we have MU MIMO, right? And now the latest one, which is AX. The first one, they have introduced Wi-Fi 6, which operates on 2.4 GHz and 5 GHz, and then Wi-Fi 6E, which operates on 6 GHz. This is the latest standard, and supports speeds up to 946 gigabits per second and uses the same channels, 20, 40, 80, and 100 and 60 megahertz channels, and this one is optimized for high density environments. So this information is only you need to know for the wireless standards, the Wi-Fi standards, right? And the answers, the answer was 2.4 gigahertz for the warehouse, which operates on 802.11b, G, and N, which is Wi-Fi 1, 3, and 4, provides longer range, better penetration through obstacles. And we have 5 GHz, also operates on 11A, the first one, then N, AC, and AX, right? And 6 GHz, this is the latest one, provides the highest performance. So yeah, that's it. Let's move on now. If you want to read the explanation on the others, you can just pause the video. I think we have talked a lot about this, but they are important, and I'm sure you'll be having questions about them. So make sure you know all this information here, right, which I have just read. We're moving on. Question 32. A technician is building a desktop system with a bottom-mounted power supply unit. The case includes a ventilation grill at the bottom. The technician wants to optimize airflow and cooling efficiency while preventing internal heat recirculation. So which configuration best supports proper cooling of the PCU, right? So pay attention, this one is a little bit tricky. So install the PCU with the fan facing upward to pull warm air from inside the case. Install the PCU with the fan facing downward to draw cool air from outside and exhaust it out the back. Disable the PCU fan and rely on passive cooling to reduce airflow turbulence. Or install additional case fans to push air directly into the PCU intake. Well, it's not so complicated when you read the possible answers. And the right one will be this one. We need to install the PCU with the fan facing downward to draw cool air from outside and exhaust it out the back, right? So in a bottom-mounted PCU, the fan should face downward if there is a vent. So this allows the PCU to draw in cooler air from outside the case and expel it out the back, improving cooling efficiency and preventing internal heat buildup. Pay attention if you're building your PC, how to place your fans. A technician is troubleshooting poor wireless performance in a crowded office environment using the 2.4 GHz band. multiple access points are deployed, and users report frequent interference and unstable connections. So the technician decides to optimize channel selection to reduce interference between nearby wireless networks. So which approach should the technician implement? Increase transmit power on all access points to improve signal strength. Configure all access points to use 40 MHz channel width for higher throughput. Migrate all devices to 20 MHz channels on the same frequency. Assign access points to non-overlapping channels such as 1, 6, and 11. Which one is the right answer, guys? Right? What do you think? And that will be to assign the access points to non-overlapping channels. You remember, when you work in the 2.4 GHz band, there are certain channels which are non-overlapping, and you need to place, if you have access points, not on one access point on only one channel, just separate them on 1, 6, and 11. They are non-overlapping channel. Don't put all access points on one of these channels. Right, in the 2.4 GHz band, only channels 1, 6, 11 do not overlap. Using these channels reduces interference between access points and improves overall network stability in congested environments. The other options, the incorrect one, using 40 MHz channels in 2.4 GHz increases overlap and interference because the band has limited available spectrum. The other option was to increase the transmit power. This one can worsen interference by causing signals to overlap. And we have using the same frequency channel for all access points leads to co-channel interference and degrades performance. That's what I just said. Question 34. A technician is implementing a contactless payment system that requires devices to communicate only when they are within a few centimeters of each other. The solution must use a low-frequency band specifically designed for short-range, secure data exchange, and avoid standard wireless networking technologies used for Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. So which technology should the technician select? So we have here gigahertz, megahertz. Yeah, we have 5 gigahertz, 13.56 megahertz, 2.4 gigahertz, 900 megahertz. First, we need to identify what standard we are talking about. So when you go to the supermarket and when you tap your card, what devices, what standard, what feature we are using the NFC. And so this is basically what we are talking here now. And the NFC operates on what frequency? If you need to know that for the exam as well. Remember, NFC 13.56 megahertz. This one is used by near-field communication, which enables a very short range communication, a few centimeters only, and it is specifically designed for secure contactless interactions such as payments and access control. We have 900 megahertz. This is used for a longer range, low bandwidth communication. It's not suitable for very short range secure exchange. We have 2.4 gigahertz. This is used by Wi-Fi. And Bluetooth, it supports longer range communication. This is more prone to interference. And we have 5 gigahertz, which is used by Wi-Fi 802.11a and AC and AX, and provides higher speeds, but it is not designed for close proximity communication. A company wants to deploy a single network appliance at the edge of its network that can enforce firewall rules, detect and block intrusions, scan for malware, and manage web filtering policies. The goal is to consolidate multiple security functions into one centralized device to simplify management and improve overall security posture. Which device should the technician implement? All right, what do you think, guys? How is this question sound? Spam gateway, proxy server, load balancer, UTM. Right answer is no, it's UTM. So Unified Threat Management, that's what it stands for. This one basically is a device that integrates multiple security features such as firewall, intrusion detection, prevention, IDS, IPS, antivirus, and content filtering into a single platform. It is designed to provide centralized security management and comprehensive protection. All these features, you need to know them for the exam, so let's through them. We have a spam gateway. This one is specifically that filters and blocks unwanted or malicious emails before they reach users. We have a load balancer. This one distributes traffic across multiple servers to improve performance and availability. A proxy server. This one acts as an intermediary for client requests, providing caching and access control. A company is implementing a centralized solution to control access to its network infrastructure. The system must verify user identities, determine what resources they are allowed to access, and maintain detailed logs of user activity for auditing purposes. The goal is to enforce strict access control policies across all network devices. Which service should administrator configure? So we have web server, AAA, NTP, syslog, database server. All these, they are in the exam objectives. So if you have been studying and if you're testing your knowledge now, you will be able to identify the right answer here, which is AAA, because we have here access, authentication, authentication, authorization, and accounting. AAA. This one provides centralized access control, right? It verifies user identity. This one is the authentication step. We have determines access permissions. This one is the authorization, and logs user activity. This one is the accounting, making it ideal for secure resource access management. We have syslog server. This one collects and stores log data from devices. We have a web server, hosts websites and web applications. We have NTP. Remember this one. You might have something like this on the exam. NTP synchronizes time across devices. Okay. We have a database server. This one stores structured data, such as transactions or records. Okay, moving on to the next question, which is 37. A technician is troubleshooting a desktop system where high-performance components intermittently shut down under load. The CPU and GPU lose power during intensive tasks, while USB devices and memory continue to function normally. So the technician suspects an issue with one of the PCU voltage rails supplying insufficient power to certain components. Which voltage rail is most likely failing? Right? 12V rail, 9V rail, 3.3V rail, 5 voltage rail. Most likely the voltage which is failing, that will be the 12 voltage rail. Now we're going to see why. Because it powers high demand components such as CPU, GPU, fans, and mechanical drives. If these components fail under load while lower power components continue working, it indicates an issue with the 12V rail. We have the 3.3V. This one powers the RAM, chipset, and the PCIe logic. Failure here would affect memory and motherboard functions, not just high power components. We have the 5V. This one is used for USB ports and some legacy components. Issues here would impact the peripheral. And 9V, this is not a standard PCU. A company is configuring its domain to work with a third-party email service provider. As part of the setup, the provider requires the organization to add a DNS entry containing a verification string and SPF configuration to help validate domain ownership and reduce email spoofing. So which DNS record type should the technician configure? All this, again, they are in the exam objectives. A record, 4 A records, A record, MX record, TXT record, or CNAME record. To be fair, guys, a few days ago, I had to do something on my website. I'll give you a clue now. So basically, I wanted to see what people are searching when they are landing on my website in Google. So I had to add this type of record, which is the right answer here, as a DNS verification string, just to verify that I'm the ownership of that domain and I can use that service. And what kind of record is that? DNS record? That is a TXT record, right? So basically, this type of record is used to store text-based information in DNS. It is commonly used for domain verification. When you see a question, something about domain verification, and you have some records, make this one is most likely to be TXT. SPF, this one is a sender policy framework. DKIM and other security-related configurations, they are required by email services and external platforms, right? TXT record, important, commonly used for domain verification, SPF, DKIM, DK. An A record now. An A record maps a domain name to an IPv4 address and is used for directing traffic to a server. We have an CompTIA record. This one maps the domain name to an IPv6 address. And an MX record directs email traffic to the appropriate mail server. And we have a CNAME record. This one maps one domain name to another. Question 39. A technician is configuring a DHCP server for a corporate network. The DHCP scope is set to assign IP addresses from 192.168.1.10 to 192.168.1.200. Several network devices, including printers and servers, are already manually configured with static IP addresses within this range. The technician needs to ensure that the DHCP server does not assign these addresses to other devices. So which configuration should the technician implement? Create a reservation for all devices, expand the DHCP scope, reduce the lease duration, configure exclusion for specific IP addresses. And the right answer is configure exclusion. So, exclusions prevent the DHCP server from assigning specific IP addresses within a defined scope. This is ideal when certain addresses are already statically assigned and should not be reused. The other options, creating reservations. This one assigns specific IP addresses to devices based on MAC addresses. We have reducing the lease duration. This one affects how long IP addresses are assigned. And expanding the DHCP scope increases the available IP range, but does not address the issue of avoiding specific IP conflicts. Question 40. A technician is building a workstation for a graphic designer who uses applications that require moderate GPU acceleration and multitasking. The system includes a mid-range CPU, a single mid-range GPU, 32 GB of RAM, 2 SSDs, and 1 HDD, several USB peripherals. The system is not intended for overclocking or multi-GPU configurations, but it must handle sustained workloads reliably. So which PCU rating is most appropriate for this system? So we have some wattage here for the power supply. It needs to handle all these components. We have the range between 300 watts and 500, between 150 and 300, 1000 watts plus, or 600 watts between 600 and 850. So this is something like a mid-range configuration. And the right answer here, to be fair, will be between 600 watts and 850. So a PCU in this range is ideal for mid-range systems with a dedicated GPU and multiple components. It provides enough headroom for stable performance on the load without being excessive. And we have 300 between 300 and 500 watts. This is typically suitable for basic office PCs without dedicated GPUs. We have 1000 watt plus. This is designed for high-end gaming, and between 150 and 300, this is far too low and will not support a system with a dedicated GPU. Question 41. A user reports a loud, repetitive clicking sound from their desktop. Upon inspection, you find the system is stuck in a boot loop. Which of the following is the most likely cause of the clicking noise? So you will see a lot of questions on the exam, could see, with most likely cause, right? So let's see, what do we have here? So the CPU fan is obstructed by a cable and hitting the blades. The power supply is experiencing a coil whine due to high load. The SSD controller has reached its write endurance limit, or the HDD actuator arm is unable to find a track or recalibrate. What do you think, guys? Clicking noise. So the most likely cause here will be, when you see something like clicking noise, always hard disk HDD needs to come to your mind. So, and the most likely cause is this one. The HDD actuator arm is unable to find the track or recalibrate. So we're going to see some kind of explanation. We have the scenario and the right answer, like we said. So you need to think of a traditional hard drive like a record player. Yeah, we're going to explain what is the HDD actuator arm now. So it has spinning plates. They call it the records, and a tiny arm with a needle. This is actually actuator arm. So when that arm gets stuck or the map of where data is stored becomes unreadable, ARM hits a physical stopper as it tries to reset itself, and that thump or click is the sound of the ARM physically failing to find its place. Okay? The other answers, SSDs, they don't have arms or spinning parts, they are silent. A fan makes a wiring or grinding noise if something hits it. So coil shine is an electrical squeal, so from power supply, so not physical click, right? Always consider this kind of clicking that might come if the PC has a old HDD. Question 42. Which diagnostic technology is built into modern hard drives to monitor health indicators like reallocated sectors count and report potential failures? SMART, UEFI, ECC, POS. All these are included in the exam objectives, but in this specific question, the right answer will be SMART, SMART. So, this is basically like you checking the engine, yeah? Light for a hard drive. The drive is constantly watching itself for errors, high temperature or mechanical wobbles. If it notices something is wrong, it logs a warning that technicians can read using software like Crystal Disk Info, yeah, which is free. POS, this only checks if the drive is plugged in at startup, and UEFI is just a menu where you change computer settings. ECC, this is a way to fix tiny typos in data, but it won't tell you if the drive's motor is dying. Next question. After replacing a failed clicking HDD with a new SSD, you want to ensure the system's performance is optimized. So which of the following is an appropriate maintenance task for the new SSD? Ensure the trim command is enabled on the OS. Apply a low-level format once a month. Schedule weekly disk defragmentation. Lubricate the actuator arm bearings. Right? Let's see if you know this one, guys. So the most common says here, the right answer will be to ensure the trim command is enabled in the operating system. So SSDs, they store data in blocks. And when you delete a file, the SSD needs to be told exactly which blocks are now empty so it can prep them for new data. And the trim command is the janitor that goes in and cleans up those empty spots so the drive stays fast and doesn't wear out too early. Incorrect. Options never defrag an SSD. So the defragmenting moves pieces of files closer together, which was only for mechanical drives. Since SSDs, they find data instantly, moving things around just wears out the drive's life. And since SSDs, they don't have moving parts, nothing to lubricate, right? Question 44. A technician is troubleshooting a PC that displays the error message, bootable device not found. The technician enters the UEFI and notices that the storage drive is listed and recognized by the motherboard, but it is not loading the Windows 11 splash screen. So the boot order is confirmed to be correct. Which of the following should the technician perform next? Boot into the Windows recovery environment and run repair tools. Replace SATA or NVMe storage drive immediately. Disconnect the receipt. Disconnect and reset the drive's data and power cables, or toggle the secure boot setting from enabled to disable. And of course, we need to boot after that into the recovery environment and run some kind of repair tools, right? In the troubleshooting process, we first check if the hardware is alive. Since the scenario says the UEFI sees the drive, we know the hardware is connected and the motherboard knows it's there. And if the hardware is fine and the boot order is correct, the problem is almost certainly software corruption in the boot sector or OS files. Running repair tools like Windows Recovery Environment or FSCK for Linux helps fix the directions the computer needs to start the OS. The other options are incorrect. Replace the SATA. You shouldn't spend money to replace the drive that the UEFI is already successfully recognizing it. Toggle the secure boot setting from enabled to disabled. This is a real setting, but toggling it randomly usually causes more boot issues rather than fixing a device not found error. Let's move on to question 45. A Linux-based web server is unable to reach an external API at api.service.com. A technician verifies that the local network interface is up and has a valid IP address. The technician can successfully ping the local gateway, but cannot ping the external domain name. Which of the following commands should the technician use next to determine if the issue is a DNS resolution failure rather than a routing path failure? And we have some command here. We have the command traceroute with the slash, and then we have the website api.service.com. We have the command IP addr show. We have the command dig and then the website, and we have the command curl. So these commands are Linux commands. So we need to know what they do basically for the exam. They are included in the exam objectives. So when you look at something about DNS resolution, we are going to use the command dig. When we write the dig command and basically the website, we'll see what's happening. So yeah, the right command is dig. This one is specifically used to query DNS servers to see if a domain name can be resolved to an IP address. Since the technician can ping the gateway, meaning the physical hardware and a local connection are working, but cannot ping the domain name, the problem is likely that the computer doesn't know what IP address belongs to that name. And using dig will confirm if the DNS server is responding with the correct information. Well, it won't fix the issue, but it will confirm that the issue is within the DNS, right? The other options, which is curl. So this command is used to transfer data or check HTTP headers. If DNS is already failing, curl will simply fail as well without telling you why. It's a tool for testing the web service, not the underlying DNS. And we have the traceroute. This is a Linux command. For Windows, we have traceRT. So this is used to see the path the hops packet takes to a destination. It is useful for finding where a connection is being dropped, but it won't help if the domain name can't be resolved in the first place. And we have the IP address show. This scenario already stated the technician verified the local interface has a valid IP address, so running this won't provide you information regarding the external connectivity issue. And we move on to question 46, another question about Linux commands. An administrator is troubleshooting a Linux workstation that can reach websites, but is experiencing extremely slow load times. The administrator wants to see every hop the data takes to google.com, specifically using ICMP packets to identify which specific router in the path is causing the latency. So each command will provide this specific information. We have the curl command again, which with the google.com twice. We have a traceroute with the switch and then the website. We have IP link set it 0 up, and we have the ping command with switch C for google.com. Well, and yeah, that will be traceroute. So the traceroute command is the Linux version of the Windows traceRT tool. It displays the route packets take to a destination. So by adding this switch, the iSwitch, it specifically uses ICMP for the trace, which allows the administrator to see the delay latency, at every single hop along the path. And we have the other incorrect options, which is ping. Ping, guys, test connectivity by sending ICMP echo request. We have curl. This fetches the homepage of a website. It will tell you if the site loads. We have IP link. This command is used to enable or disable a network interface, like turning the Wi-Fi on or off. And here is a little memorization tool. For example, IP. This one is used for configuration. Am I plugged in? Do I have an IP? We have the ping command. This is for availability. Is the other site alive? We have dig. This one is for the DNS, for the names. Does the name match the IP? And we have the traceroute. This is for the path. Where is the signal getting stuck? And we have the curl. This is for web content. Can I see the website data? Question 47. A technician is remotely assisting a user who is logged into a workstation. The user is unable to access a shared project folder. The technician needs to verify the exact account name currently logged in and see a full list of security groups that the user belongs to. The user mentions they are using a Windows 11 machine. So which of the following commands should the technician instruct the user to run to get both pieces of information at once? So pay attention. We need to get both pieces of information at once. So is the command ID whoami space / groups ipconfig space / ? Or who am I? So we need to get both information, the account name and the groups, and we have to run this command, who am I / groups. So this command returns both the currently logged in account name and a detailed list of all security groups the user belongs to, including SIDs and attributes. It's exactly what the technician needs to troubleshoot access to a shared folder, since permissions are typically based on group membership. The option who am I is incomplete because it will only display the current username, right? It won't show the group memberships. We have the ipconfig with this switch. Basically, it will display help information. Any command, when you type with / in Windows, it will show you some kind of help information. We have the ID. This is incorrect in a Windows environment because it is a Linux command. And we have Windows, a little tricks to remember Linux and Windows commands. So Windows commands, they typically use / for switches. Switches are this one, yeah, like whatever comes after the command. For example, this one, who am I / groups. / groups is a switch. Okay, for Linux, typically we use dash instead of / so that's how you can identify them. A user working on a creative project reports that several high-resolution images they saved yesterday are now missing from their folder. When they try to open the few remaining files, they receive an error message stating the files are unreadable. The technician suspects that an unexpected power outage during the save process may have caused data corruption. So which of the following should the technician do to attempt to repair the file system and recover the missing data? Reformat the drive using a quick format to clear the errors. Run IP address show to check for network-related file syncing issues. Use whoami / groups switch to verify the user has permissions to see the files. Or run check disk chkdsk on Windows or fsck on Linux to repair the drive. And that will be the right answer, guys, to run this check disk on Windows and or fsck on Linux. So these utilities, guys, they're designed to detect and repair file system inconsistencies caused by events like sudden power loss. On Windows, the command check disk can fix logical errors and attempt recovery of readable data from damaged sectors. And the same on Linux, if you run this command, fsck performs a similar role by checking and repairing file system integrity. And we have this command, run IP address show to check for network related. So this is incorrect. This is a Linux networking command. We have reformat the drive using a quick format to clear the errors. This is basically formatting. We will erase the file system structure and the recovery will be maybe impossible. And this command, well, we have a file issue, a file corruption issue, not access permissions. And moving on, question 49. A junior technician is monitoring a server that uses a RAID 5 array. They notice a notification stating the array is degraded. While investigating, the technician hears a rhythmic clicking sound coming from the server chassis. The technician needs to identify the failed drive and resolve the issue without losing any data. So what is the most appropriate sequence of actions for the technician to take? So first, run fsck on the array, then reinitialize the array to clear the clicking sound. Run ip-link set at eth0 up to see if the network can repair the drive, and then replace the PCU. Or immediately run chkdsk with the switch F on all drives in the array, and then open the clicking drive to inspect the actuator arm, or check the RAID controller logs to identify the failed drive, and then replace the clicking drive and follow rebuild procedures. Well, to be fair, guys, the last one makes most sense, and this is going to be the correct option. So in RAID 5 array, a degraded state indicates that one drive has failed, but data is still accessible due to parity. We have parity in RAID 5. The clicking sound strongly suggests a mechanical HDD failure. The correct workflow will be use the RAID controller, hardware BIOS, management utility, or OS tools to identify the failed disk precisely, and then replace the faulty drive. We have a hot swap if the RAID supported. And then allow the array to rebuild using parity data. So this preserves the data and restores redundancy. Oh, well, the other options doesn't make any sense, guys. So we're moving on to the question 50. An enterprise-level cloud service provider is designing a new storage array for a massive database server. The project requirements state that the system must maintain business continuity even in the event of 2 simultaneous drive failures. Additionally, the solution must use a configuration that utilizes striping with double parity to ensure data can be reconstructed without downtime. So which RAID configuration should the technician implement to meet these specific requirements? We have RAID 5, 1, 10, 6. And all these you need to be knowing them for the exam with, right, which one is the correct? We're talking here about redundancy. So if two drives failures, we still have the data, so that will be RAID 6. That's the right answer, because it uses striping with double parity, which allows the array to withstand 2 drive failure without data loss. So this directly matches the requirement here for high availability and business continuity in enterprise environments. Parity information is distributed across all drives, enabling reconstruction even if 2 disks fail. So we have RAID 1. This is incorrect. Who uses mirroring and typically only protects against a single drive failure per mirror set. RAID 5, this one uses single parity and can only tolerate 1 drive failure. And RAID 10, yes, it provides excellent performance and redundancy here because we have striping plus mirroring, but it does not guarantee survival of 2 simultaneous drive failures unless they occur in different mirror pairs. Yeah, it does not use double parity like we have in RAID 6. We are continuing with question 51. A video production company is building a high-end workstation that must support multiple GPUs, several PCIe expansion cards, up to 8 RAM modules, and advanced cooling solutions. So which motherboard form factor is most appropriate? We have ATX, Mini ITX, Nano ITX, or Micro ATX. So all these form factors, you need to know them. I think you know, I'm not sure that you need to know the exact size of the motherboards, but you need to know which one is the biggest and approximately maybe the size and the most used ones, right? Because you might have some scenarios where you have to point what type of motherboard you have to choose, like this one, but not exactly the same probably. So the right answer here will be the ATX. This is the main type of motherboard, right? ATX. So advanced technology extended. That's what ATX means. Here is the size, 12 by 9.6 inches. And we have typically 7 PCIe or PCI slots, right? And the RAM slots, they are up to 8 DIMM slots for the RAM, yeah? 4 to 8. Power connection, we have 24-pin ATX main power, remember that, plus 4 or 8-pin CPU power. And the use case, you might have something like scenarios they're used in desktop, they're used in gaming rigs and workstation, requiring multiple expansions cards. And the key feature of these motherboards is that they support high-end GPUs, multiple storage interfaces, and advanced cooling solutions, right? The incorrect options, micro ATX. This type of motherboard has fewer expansion slots and limited scalability. It is used in budget and compact desktop systems where fewer expansion slots are needed. We have Mini ITX. This supports only one PCIe slot and limited RAM, and Nano ITX. This is basically designed for embedded or ultra compact systems with minimal expansion. Question 52. A technician is upgrading a user's laptop to improve storage performance. The user wants the fastest possible internal storage solution with minimal cable usage and direct connection to the motherboard. The technician selects a solid-state drive that uses PCIe lanes and fits into a small slot on the motherboard without requiring power or data cables. So which of the following interfaces is being used? PCI, eSATA, M.2, or SATA. If you have built your own PC, probably this one will be piece of cake questions for you. What I was about to say, yes, all these are in exam objectives, so make sure you are familiar with them. And some kind of scenarios like this one, it might pop up on your exam, you never know. And the right answer here is M.2. So M.2 is a compact interface that connects directly to the motherboard and can use PCIe lanes, NVMe, providing very high speeds without requiring separate cables. The incorrect options, PCI, this is incorrect, of course, because it refers to expansion slots used for add-in cards, not specifically for modern compact storage drives. We have the SATA. This one requires data and power cables. And eSATA, again, it is used for external storage devices. A technician is preparing to install a new operating system on a desktop computer using a bootable USB drive. So when the system starts, it keeps loading the existing operating system instead of booting from the USB. The technician needs to change a firmware setting to ensure the system attempts to boot from the USB drive first. So which of the following settings should the technician modify? Boot order, boot password, fan speed configuration, or secure boot. Before we continue with the right answer, guys, I just want to invite you to check out the description under this video. You'll find our Udemy courses with exam practice questions, with simulations as well. And also you can go to this website, proexamsit.com. You'll find there very, very affordable exam prep materials for different CompTIA and Microsoft certifications. Right, answer on this one is boot order, guys. This one has happened to me, right? I had my USB plugged in the PC with the OS, keep restarting, nothing happens, right? And the thing was the boot order. So boot order determines the sequence of devices the system checks when starting up. So by placing the USB drive first, the system will boot from it instead of the internal drive. So you need to go to the BIOS to UEFI. So incorrect options. Secure boot. This controls whether only trusted, signed operating systems can load. Boot password. This is basically to restrict access to the system during startup. And we have fan speed configuration. This relates to hardware cooling settings, nothing to do with boot processing. Question 54, guys. I have a lot of questions for A+. I'll be doing a lot for Core 2. I'll be doing for Network Plus, for Security Plus, right? So stay tuned. A technician is configuring a company laptop to meet security requirements before deployment. The organization plans to use full disk encryption with BitLocker, but the feature cannot be enabled. After checking the system, the technician realizes that a required hardware-based security component is currently disabled on the BIOS UEFI settings. So which of the following actions should the technician take? Enable TPM, adjust boot order, disable USB boot, set a boot password. Well, this one is just easy one. Just enable the TPM, right? So trusted platform model. is required for BitLocker to securely store encryption keys. So enabling it in the BIOS UEFI settings allows the system to support full disk encryption. Incorrect options: disable USB boot. This is incorrect. It improves security against external boot devices. Adjust boot order only controls which device the system boots, and set a boot password is basically restricts system access. A business is upgrading its computers to ensure compatibility with a modern operating system and improve multitasking performance across multiple applications. During testing, some systems fail to meet the requirements needed to fully utilize installed memory and run newer software efficiently. So, which of the following CPU characteristics must be considered? 32-bit architecture, virtualization support, 64-bit architecture, overclocking capability. So basically what we have here, we need to basically improve performance, multitasking, ensuring compatibility with modern operating system. Well, 64-bit architecture is the right answer here, because if you want a new operating system like Windows 11 requires basically a 64-bit processor to support advanced security features and higher memory capabilities, right? This is one of the requirements of Windows 11, 64-bit processor. 32-bit architecture is limited to 4 GB RAM. Incompatible with modern operating system, and overclocking basically it improves speed but does not affect compatibility. Virtualization supports it is for running virtual machines, right? A company is upgrading employee workstations used for multitasking, including running office applications, web browsers, communication tools, and occasional video editing projects. So users report system slowdowns when switching between multiple applications on rendering media files. The technician needs to recommend a CPU feature that will significantly improve overall performance in these scenarios. So which of the following should the technician recommend? Multi-core processor, single-core processor, passive cooling, LGA 1200 socket compatibility. Right answer is multi-core processor, guys. So a multi-core CPU allows the system to handle multiple tasks and threads at the same time, which is essential for multitasking and video editing workloads. Incorrect option: single core processor. This is basically cannot efficiently handle multiple applications or rendering. We have passive cooling, relates to heat management, and we have LGA 1200 socket compatibility. This refers to hardware compatibility with the motherboard. Question 56. A content creator wants to record high-quality gameplay footage from a gaming console onto their workstation for editing and streaming. The console is connected externally, and the video signal needs to be transferred into the computer in real time. The technician must install a component that allows the system to receive and process this external video input. So which of the following should the technician install? Sound card, GPU, capture card, or RAID controller card? Well, this is definitely a capture card. This type of card is designed to take an external video signal, such as from a console or camera, and input it into a computer for recording or streaming. Sound cards handles audio input-output. RAID controller, this basically manages multiple storage drives and data redundancy, and the GPU video cards, basically it outputs video to a display and processes graphics. A technician is troubleshooting a desktop computer that is shutting down unexpectedly during heavy workloads. Upon inspection, the technician notices that the power supply is overheating and the internal fan is no longer functioning, so the rest of the system components appear to be working normally. The technician needs to resolve the overheating issue while maintaining proper system operation. So which of the following should the technician do? Install additional case fans to compensate for the PCU fan failure. Replace the PCU fan with a compatible high CFM model. Disable the PCU's fan to prevent noise issues. or remove the PCU and rely solely on passive cooling? Well, right answer is, of course, to replace the PCU fan with a compatible high CFM model. So the PCU relies on its internal fan for proper cooling, and replacing the faulty fan restores airflow and prevents overheating. Incorrect options to install additional case fans um, basically do not provide sufficient airflow inside the PCU enclosure, right inside of the PCU. A technician is setting up a multifunction device, MFD, in a busy office environment. So the device must be accessible to multiple users across the network for printing, scanning, and faxing. So the component requires a stable, reliable connection with minimal interference and consistent performance. So which of the following connection types should a technician use? Wi-Fi, Ethernet, Bluetooth, USB. Talking about reliable connection in MFD device in a busy office. And that will be the Ethernet connection, guys. So Ethernet provides a stable, wired network connection that is ideal for shared devices like MFDs in office environments, ensuring consistent performance and minimum interference. We have the USB connection. Usually connects a device to a single computer, not a network. The Bluetooth one has a limited range. It's not very stable. The Wi-Fi one, it can be less stable and more prone to interference. A graphic design company is setting up a high-end printer for producing marketing materials and detailed images. The users require accurate color reproduction and precise rendering of complex graphics and fonts across different systems and applications. The technician needs to select the most appropriate printing language to meet these requirements. So which of the following should the technician choose? We have PostScript, UPD, PCL, Basic Windows, Printer Driver. Well, that will be the PostScript. So PostScript is designed for high-quality graphics and complex document rendering, making it ideal for professional design and printing environments. We have the UPD, Universal Print Driver, provides general compatibility, does not specialize in high-end graphics rendering. We have the Printer Control Language, PCL. This one is optimized for speed and standard office printing, not advanced, and the basic Windows Printer Driver. This one offers limited functionality. Question 60. A technician is configuring a multi-function printer in an office so that scanned documents are automatically saved to a shared folder on a file server. Employees should be able to access the scanned files from any workstation on the network without needing to connect directly to the printer. So which of the following scanning methods should the technician configure? Cloud scanning, SMB scanning, local USB scanning, or flatbed scanning? And this is SMB scanning, server message block. Scanning allows the printer to send scanned documents directly to a shared network folder, making them accessible to multiple users. We have flatbed scanning. This refers to the physical scanning method, not how the file is delivered. We have cloud scanning. Basically, this type of scanning sends files to the cloud services, not to a local network share. And we have local USB scanning, saves files directly to a USB device connected to the printer. We are continuing with question 61. So in this chapter, guys, we are going to see more questions about printers. We know they are important part from the exam. You might see some questions about them, so make sure you know a lot about them. So let's see if you know the answers now. A technician is troubleshooting a network laser printer in a legal office. Employees report that printed contracts are coming out lighter than normal, and toner can sometimes be rubbed off the page after printing. The printer recently received a brand new toner cartridge, and the toner status page confirms toner levels are full. So which of the following maintenance procedures should the technician perform next? to most likely resolve the issue. You never know with printers, guys. So we have replaced the duplexing assembly, calibrate the printer firmware, reload the paper tray with new paper, or replace the fuser unit and rollers. What do you think? What is the most common thing that you would do in this situation, having in mind all these steps that have been done also? We have a new toner cartridge, and the toner status page confirms toner levels are full, so we're not gonna look there. The right answer here will be to replace the fuser unit and the rollers. So the fuser unit, it is responsible for applying heat and pressure to permanently bond toner onto the paper during the final stage of the laser printing process. So when the fuser begins to fail, toner may not fully melt into the paper, causing faded documents and toner that smears or rubs off easily. So worn rollers inside the printer can also contribute to paper movement problems and poor print quality. Since the toner cartridge is new, toner levels are fine, sufficient. The fuser assembly is the most likely cause of the issue we're having here. So the incorrect options such as calibrating the printer firmware can help resolve basically just software-related print alignment or communication issues. It wouldn't normally fix toner or smears off the page or faded prints. So reloading the paper tray with new paper can sometimes help if damp or incorrect paper types are causing jams or print defects. But paper issues would not usually cause toner to rub off after printing. We have the duplexing assembly. This one is responsible for automatically flipping paper for double-sided printing. Question 62. A company's multifunction laser printer has recently started producing a loud grinding and rattling noise whenever large print jobs are sent to the device. The printer still powers on and prints successfully, but users report the sound becomes worse as more pages are processed. During inspection, the technician notices intermittent paper feeding problems and occasional hesitation when the rollers begin moving paper through the printer. So which of the following is the most likely cause of the issue here? An outdated printer driver causing print buffer errors, a defective imaging drum overheating during operation, misaligned gears or damaged internal rollers, or low toner cartridge causing motor strain. Right answer is misaligned gears or damaged internal rollers. So grinding or rattling noises in a printer, they are commonly caused by worn, damaged or misaligned gears and rollers inside the printer mechanism. Broken plastic components or improperly aligned roller assemblies, they can create loud mechanical noises during paper movement. These problems, they also might lead to intermittent paper feeding issues and hesitation during the printing operations. We have the other incorrect options, guys. A low toner cartridge can cause faded documents or toner warnings. We have outdated printer driver. This one may cause communication problems, failed print jobs. We have defective imaging drum. This one can cause print quality problems such as streaks, ghosting, or repeating marks on pages. A technician is called to troubleshoot a point-of-sale receipt printer in a restaurant. Staff members report that the printer feeds paper normally during transactions, but the receipts are extremely faint and sometimes completely blank. The printer does not display any hardware errors, and the device is designed to use heat instead of ink for printing. Which of the following should the technician do first to most likely resolve the issue? Reset the printer to factory settings, clean the impact printhead, replace the ink cartridge, replace the thermal paper roll. Well, first will be to replace the thermal paper roll, the easy one. Because thermal printers, they use heat-sensitive thermal paper rather than ink or toner. If the thermal paper is damaged, installed incorrectly, or the thermal coating has worn out, receipts may appear faint or completely blank, even though the printer feeds paper correctly. If we replace the imaging drum, This one won't be the right choice because when we do that, they are responsible for components found in the laser printers. We don't have basically imaging drum in thermal printers. Cleaning the transfer roller. Incorrect. Transfer rollers are also associated with laser printers. We don't have transfer rollers in thermal. And reinstalling the printer firmware may help resolve software communication problems again, but it won't fix, our issue here. Moving on to question 64. An office employee reports that an inkjet printer is producing documents with missing lines, faded colors, and streaks across images. The technician verifies that the ink cartridges were recently replaced and contain sufficient ink levels. No paper jumps or hardware error messages are present. Which of the following should the technician perform first to most likely resolve the issue? Clean the fuser assembly, replace the toner cartridge, run the printhead cleaning utility, or replace the impact ribbon. I'm gonna go with run the printhead cleaning utility on this one. So inkjet printers, they use tiny nozzles inside the printhead to spray ink onto the paper. And over time, these nozzles, they can become clogged with dried ink, causing streaks, missing lines, faded colors, and uneven print quality. And running the printhead cleaning utility is the correct first troubleshooting step here because it helps to clear the clogged nozzles and restore proper ink flow. Incorrect options: replacing the toner cartridge. Again, toner cartridges are used in laser printers, not inkjet. Replacing the impact ribbon. Again, they're used in impact printers, such as dot matrix printers. We don't have them in this type of printers. Cleaning the fuser assembly. This is, again, a laser printer component. A technician is preparing a Windows 11 computer for deployment in a corporate environment. The company requires full disk encryption, centralized user authentication through Active Directory, and the ability for help desk staff to remotely access employee systems for troubleshooting. So which Windows 11 edition would best meet these requirements? We have Windows 11 S Mod, 11 Home, 11 Pro, 11 Education Basic. So this one is not so difficult. You need to know for the exam, guys, the version. But the most thing you need to remember is that if you have a Windows 11 Home, you won't be able to join that computer to Active Directory. And basically, this answers the questions because we are not going to use Home. We're going to use Windows 11 Pro here. 11 Pro includes all these features: business-oriented features such as BitLocker encryption, remote desktop support, domain join capabilities, and yeah, we have 11 Home. Like I said, it is for consumers. It does not have some features which are mentioned here, such as Active Directory domain join or BitLocker management features. We have S Mode. This is a restricted security-focused mode that limits application installation to Microsoft Store apps, and this is not intended for full corporate management environment. And Education Basic, this is not a standard edition. Typically, this one is deployed for environments. So forget about this. Only 11 Pro, Enterprise, and Home. You might get some questions about them on the exam. So question 66. A technician is upgrading storage in a modern MacBook running the latest version of macOS. During the installation process, the technician needs to format the internal SSD using the default file system optimized for modern macOS features such as snapshots, encryption, and SSD performance improvements. So which of the following file systems should the technician choose? So APFC, S, HFS, FAT32, exFAT. Which one is going to be for macOS? I'm talking about this one, the first one, which is APFS. Apple File System. Easy to remember, when you see the first letter A, just think about Apple, macOS. Yeah, that's how you remember it. So this is the default file system in modern versions of macOS. It is optimized for SSDs, supports advanced features such as snapshots, strong encryption, fast directory sizing, and improved storage management. So usually we might see some questions. I'm not sure if they are updated or not. HFS plus, this basically APFS replaced HFS plus. FAT32, this is a legacy cross-platform file system. This is commonly used for USB drives, memory card. Again, this one you should know. We have exFAT. exFAT, again from the exam objectives, it is designed for compatibility between Windows and macOS systems and supports larger files than FAT32, right? But it's not the default macOS system here for this question. And we have HFS. This is a hierarchical file system. This is an older Apple file system. Modern macOS systems, they primarily use this one, Apple PFS, instead of HFS or HFS Plus, right? Moving on, a user downloads an application installer from a software vendor's website onto a macOS system. The downloaded file mounts as a virtual drive when opened and allows the user to drag the application into the application folder for installation. So which of the following file formats is the user most likely working with? Very, very good explanation here. Basically describes everything. We have .msi, .apk, .dmg, .exe. You need to know these extensions. And now we are talking about which one? DMG. DMG, this type of file is a macOS disk image, right? File commonly used to distribute software applications. And if you have macOS, probably you know that. If you don't have macOS, Apple MacBook, usually when opened, it mounts as a virtual disk and often allows users to drag the application onto the application folder, and then you basically installing the application. We have .msi. These files are Microsoft installed packages used primarily in Windows operating systems. Also, we have, this is the most common file for applications used in Windows environment, exe, very, very common. And again, we have our Android APK files. These are for Android applications on Android devices, smartphones, etc. Question 68. A technician powers on a workstation and hears multiple post-beep calls, but no video is displayed on the monitor. The motherboard documentation indicates that the specific beep pattern points to a memory initialization failure. When you hear, guys, post-beep calls, always check the motherboard documentation to see what this post-beep means. You might have some, calls, so you can identify the issue fast. So which of the following components is most likely causing the issue? CMOS battery, RAM modules, SSD firmware, thermal paste. So we haven't checked with this guy the motherboard documentation. So let's see how we gonna find out. 6. CMOS battery, not very likely. SSD firmware, no. This is software thermal paste. Between RAM modules and thermal paste, what do you think is going to be? RAM modules. So post-beep calls related to memory initialization failures, they commonly indicate faulty, incompatible, or improperly seated RAM modules. And basically, by reseating or replacing the memory, fixes the issue. Thermal paste problems, they typically cause overheating. Okay, it won't cost you probably to hear a beep pause. SSD firmware, they affect storage access. They won't trigger memory-related post beeps. As CMOS battery, this one can reset the BIOS settings or system time. Moving on, question 69. 69? All right, I think I have jumped one question. Never mind, guys. Let's see what we have here. A graphic designer reports that a Windows workstation randomly crashes with the blue screen of death. When you see BSO, the blue screen of death, while editing large video files. So the system also occasionally freezes during startup. A technician verifies that all device drivers are current and notices no obvious physical damage inside the computer. So pay attention on the description of the questions. They already mention some steps that if they don't mention, you might have to do. Drivers, no, they don't cause this blue screen of data right now. In this question, we have the question now. Which of the following should the technician perform next to most likely identify the root cause of the issue? So reinstall the video editing software. Run Windows Memory Diagnostic or memtest 86. Replace the monitor cable or disable virtual memory in Windows. Well, you would want to basically run some tests, diagnostic tests to see what's happening. So this one is going to be the next step. Faulty RAM, this is one of the most common causes of blue screen of death. But not only that, other issues can cause blue screen of death as well, right? And you might experience random freezes, system instability, especially during memory-intensive tasks such as video editing. And when we run this Windows memory diagnostic and this one memtest 86, they are tools basically specifically designed to detect memory errors and failing RAM models. So we will see if that one is the right cause of the issue. The other options, replacing the monitor cable. This one will only under display signal issues, such as flickering or no video output. You might have some questions about that you are receiving no video output, so you might have some possible answer replacing the monitor cable. Reinstalling the video editing software. This one may help if the application itself is corrupted, but random startup freezes and blue screen of death errors, they commonly indicate some kind of hardware instability, right? Disabling virtual memory could reduce system performance. Won't fix the issue here. Okay, let's move to the next. This is the last question for this video, guys. A systems administrator is configuring a Windows Server storage solution for a large media company that stores multi-terabyte video archives. The company requires a file system that supports data integrity checks, automatic correction of corrupted data, and optimized handling of very large storage volumes. So which of the following file systems will best meet these requirements? So we have exFAT, REFS, FAT32, NTFS. And the right answer is REFS. So this is the file system. Basically, it means a resilient file system. It is designed for high reliable storage environments and Windows Server systems. So it supports integrity checking, automatic correction, large-scale storage optimization, and improved resilience against data loss. And it is commonly used with storage spaces for redundancy and fault tolerance. We have the other file system. We have already mentioned FAT32. This one is an older file system with major file size limitations and lacks modern resilience. We have exFAT, supports large files and cross-platform compatibility. We don't have advanced resilience here and self-healing or integrity checking features. And the NTFS, this one supports advanced features, but in this scenario, they require automatic corruption correction and high resilience storage capability. This one is the description is more closely to this file operating system. Question 71. A technician upgrades a desktop workstation with a new dedicated graphics card. After powering on the computer, the fans spin and system LEDs illuminate, but the monitor remains completely blank with no BIOS splash screen displayed. So the monitor and the video cable were tested with another computer and they function correctly. So which of the following should a technician perform first to most likely resolve the issue? Reset the graphics card and verify PCIe power connections. Replace the monitor immediately. Defragment the storage drive or reinstall the operating system. Well, the one which makes most sense is to reset the graphics card and verify PCIe power connection. So a loose or improperly connected GPU is a common cause of no video output after hardware upgrades. Dedicated graphics cards may require PCIe power connectors and proper seating in the motherboard slot. Resetting the GPU and verifying power connections is the most appropriate first troubleshooting step. To be fair, this happens to my computer a few months back. So basically, I just had to push the graphic card a little bit harder so it can fit in the PCIe slot. Yeah, I was building my first PC and I was afraid what I'm doing, right? And then I just placed the GPU and I was afraid to push hard. And that was the problem. So I just had to push a little bit further, a little bit harder, and I got the input on the monitor. Right. Let's move on to the next question. You can read the incorrect answers if you want, but they are not relevant. Question 72. A file server configured with a RAID 5 array begins displaying storage warning alerts and reduced performance. One of the drives in the array shows a failed status in the RAID management utility, but users are still able to access shared files without data loss. The administrator wants to restore full fault tolerance as quickly as possible. So which of the following should the technician do next to most likely resolve the issue? Disable RAID mode in the BIOS, format the RAID array and recreate all partitions, reinstall the server operating system, or replace the failed drive and begin the RAID rebuild process. So we have RAID 5 here. For the exam, you need to know RAID 0, RAID 1, RAID 5, RAID 6, and RAID 10. What they do, basically, what they offer, etc. I might make something like a simulation about this RAID array, so it's easy if it's easy for you guys to remember them. So let's come back to the question and see what is going to be the right answer here. And that will be to replace, of course, the failed drive and begin the RAID rebuild process, right? So let's move on to the explanation. So RAID 5 provides both fault tolerance by distributing parity information across multiple drives, allowing the array to continue operating after a single drive failure. And when one drive fails, the correct procedure is to replace the failed drive and allow the RAID controller to rebuild the array using parity data to restore redundancy. Reinstalling the server operating system is unnecessary. Formatting the RAID array would erase data, and disabling RAID mode in the BIOS would likely make the array inaccessible. Question 73. A conference room projector used for daily business presentations has recently started displaying an extremely dim image that is difficult to see even when the room lights are turned off. Users also report that colors appear faded, and the projector occasionally displays a lamp warning indicator during startup. The technician verifies that the connected laptop outputs video correctly to an external monitor and that the operating system brightness settings are already set to maximum. So basically, which of the following is the most likely cause of the issue? He already performed some steps to verify, so we can exclude these things. So what is the issue here? The brightness settings on the operating system are too low, the projector lamp has exceeded its lifespan, the HDMI cable does not support the projector's native resolution, or the projector's cooling vents are partially blocked with dust. Projector lamp has exceeded its lifespan. So, projector lamps, they gradually lose brightness over time as they approach the end of their operational lifespan, and common symptoms include dim images, faded colors, warning indicators, and poor visibility even in dark rooms. So, since the laptop display works correctly and brightness settings are already maximized, the failing projector lamp is our most likely case in this situation. Let's have a look at the incorrect options. We have the operating system brightness settings incorrect because the technician already verified. Blocked cooling vents, they may cause overheating, right? But they will not typically cause a consistently dim image. Incompatible HDMI cable or incorrect resolution, they could cause display artifacts, flickering, or signal issues, yeah, but not really brightness, losing brightness or fading colors. Question 74. A user reports intermittent screen flickering and random signal loss on a desktop monitor. The issue occurs only when the monitor is slightly moved or adjusted. The technician verifies that the GPU drivers are updated and monitor powers on normally. Which of the following should the technician do first to most likely resolve the issue? Reinstall the graphics driver package, replace the display cable with a non-good cable, increase the monitor refresh rate beyond the recommended settings, or replace the motherboard CMOS battery. So this question is not so hard. And now, as you can see, the clue here is the issue occurs when the monitor is slightly moved or adjusted. So what that tells us, something might be wrong with the cable, and we can basically replace it, right? Intermittent flickering and signal loss that changes when the monitor or cable is moved commonly indicates a damaged or loose display cable. Replacing it, which will most likely fix the issue. Other options such as reinstalling graphic drivers, they could help some kind of software-related display issues, but I don't think so. It will help the issue we have here. A failing CMOS battery, it will reset the BIOS settings probably, or system time, but yeah, won't fix the issue again. And yeah, moving on, guys. 75, question 75. You can check my other videos. So as you can see, I'm starting from 70. So that means I have already uploaded 60 questions. So you can check them out in our profile. A technician is configuring a projector for a training room presentation. After connecting a laptop, the image appears oversized and portions of the desktop extend beyond the edges of the projector screen, making taskbar icons and application windows partially hidden. The projector is operating at its recommended resolution, and the video cable tests successfully with another device. So which of the following should the technician do next to most likely resolve the issue? Reset the projector's internal cooling timer, modify the display scaling settings, replace the projector lamp assembly, reinstall the graphics adapter drivers. And of course, that will be to modify the display scaling settings, or zooming, etc., within the operating system. Incorrect display scaling settings can cause projected images to appear oversized or improperly fitted on the screen, and it will be resulting in hidden desktop elements and cropped edges. Replacing the projector lamp would address brightness or image visibility problems. Reinstalling the graphics card adapter drivers may help if the display devices are not detected properly. And resetting the projector's internal cooling timer, this is basically unrelated to image sizing. A user attempts to print a large document to a network laser printer, but the printer display continuously shows an error indicating that no paper source is available. The technician confirms that paper is loaded correctly. The printer detects toner normally, and printing from other trays works without issue. The problem only occurs when attempting to print from the newly installed lower paper feed. So which of the following is the most likely cause of the issue? Defective fuser assembly, incorrect duplex printing configuration, corrupted print spooler service, tray not recognized. So guys, I need to tell you something on the exam. Pay attention to every word on the question. Sometimes you can find some clues in the question. Even if you don't know the answer, the question itself might give you some kind of clues. And this one as well give us some clues here that you can print basically from other trays here without issues. So what's going to be here? Probably we have tray not recognized on this printer. If the printer cannot detect or communicate properly with an installed paper tray, it may report that no paper source is available, even when paper is loaded correctly. So this commonly occurs with improperly installed trays, damaged tray sensors, or unsupported tray models. Basically, printers are a big part of the exam. Also, you'll be dealing, even if you don't like it, you'll be dealing with a lot of printers at work, a lot of issues. Some of them might be very simple. Some of them you'll be, kicking your head, trying to figure it out. But yeah, that's how it is. So make sure you are very, very aware of possible causes of different types of issues for laser printers, inkjet, anything about printers. So the incorrect options: defective fuser assembly. This typically will be some kind of causing troubles with the toner bonding problems, wrinkled pages, paper jams. Incorrect duplex printing settings may affect double-sided printing. You might have some questions about duplex printing in the exam, but it's easy, this one. A corrupted print spooler service can interrupt print jobs or cause printers to appear offline. Again, print spooler, make sure you know it, because Even in my home, sometimes I need to restart the print spooler, because when I send some printing jobs, it basically doesn't do. And when I check the queue, when I just clear all the jobs, restart the print spooler, it fixes the issue. So you might have to do this in your job as well, and you might also have some kind of simulation about the print spooler. So how basically to, if you have some kind of questions, simulations or something, how you can fix what you're going to do first, and if you have some services, what service you would use. So basically that will be the print spooler. Yeah. So let's move on. Question 77. A systems administrator is preparing several new laptops running Windows 11 for deployment in a multinational company. The organization requires centralized device provisioning, advanced enterprise management features, and support for the long-term servicing channel for systems that must minimize feature updates. Which of the following Windows 11 editions would best meet these requirements? We have Pro, Home, Education, Enterprise. So make sure you are familiar with these Windows 11 editions, Home, Pro, Enterprise, basically what you get with each of these editions and what you don't. Very important part is which of the Windows 11 versions you can use it as a domain joint computer, which operating system must have, so you can join that computer within a centralized service management. And also on the exam, they still have Windows 10 edition. So again, get familiar with also Windows 10 editions as well, the differences and the features of each edition. But in this case now, we are talking about, no, it is not Pro, it is not Home, it is Enterprise. With that's it. For Windows 11, just we have Home, Pro, Enterprise, and N for Europe, right? So Windows 11 Enterprise, this is designed for large organizations, includes advanced enterprise management and deployment features such as Windows Autopilot, LTSC support, enhanced security controls, and large-scale device provisioning capabilities. The other editions, versions, however you want to call it, Windows 11 Home, this one basically is primarily designed for home users. We don't have such a features, enhanced features like Enterprise and Pro. We don't have any management features. Windows 11 Pro, make sure you have this in your computer if you want to build a home lab, right? Because home lab will get you ready, will give you that experience if you don't have it when you start hunting for a job after you pass your certification. So Windows 11 Pro includes features such as, remember, BitLocker, remote desktop, and very important one, domain join, right? It does not provide the same enterprise-focused deployment and servicing options as enterprise editions. So for example, if we want to join, you work as a help desk and you receive a call, or you need to join a computer, and you basically set up a computer, and that computer needs to be joined to the domain, so you can basically create the users, do some onboarding, etc. You need to basically install at least 11 Pro, yeah, so you can join that computer to the domain. Windows Home 11 Home doesn't have that feature. And education, this one is intended for academic institutions, does not typically provide the same enterprise deployment. Moving on, enough. 78. A Linux systems administrator is deploying a high-performance storage server that will host large databases and virtual machine workloads. The company requires a file system designed for scalability, advanced storage management features, and enterprise-level performance rather than the standard default Linux file system used in most desktop distributions. So which of the following file system would best meet these requirements? So we have Linux systems as well. Some enterprises, they use Linux systems, some may not, but still better on the safe side for the exam to know it, and also not for the exam. In your endeavor into the IT, just Linux is going to be a big part, I think, in the future, right? So we have file system, and we are not talking about the default Linux file system, which is, it's this one. So we have FAT32, X4, XFS, NTFS. So we have basically two Okay, and I'm not going to talk now. Let's just tell guys what is the right answer. Okay, 78. We have 2 more questions of this video. This is XFS is the right answer. This is more, how to say, this type of file system of Linux used in more enterprise environment. So XFS, this is a high-performance journaling file system commonly used in enterprise Linux server environments. It is optimized for scalability, large files, and high-performance workloads such as databases and virtualization platforms. So we have ext4, which the incorrect options here, but let's see. Because you need to know them. So ext4, this is the default system by Linux. So basically, when you install a Linux operating system, you'll be using this ext4. This is the normal one, which it comes by default. It is suitable for general purpose computing, but enterprise environments with demanding storage requirements, they often use file systems such as XFS, BTRFS, or ZFS. We have another FAT32. This is we don't have Linux support here. FAT32 is an older file system with file size limitations and lacks Linux enterprise storage features such as journaling advanced gigabit. And NTFS, so this is primarily associated with Windows operating systems. So it's not commonly used as the primary file system for Linux enterprise service. So NTFS, very important. Probably you have this one. You'll be using this one. You're using right now this one in your Windows 11. Question 78. A school district is purchasing several low-cost laptops for students who primarily use browser-based learning platforms, Google Workspace, applications, and cloud storage. So the IT department also wants a lightweight operating system with simplified management and strong system integrity protections. So which of the following operating systems would best meet these requirements? We have macOS, Ubuntu Server, Chrome OS, Windows 11 Enterprise. Come on. And that is, of course, a Chrome OS, right? This is very lightweight Linux-based operating system developed by Google, commonly used in Chromebooks. It is optimized for web-based applications, cloud storage, and educational environments. Chrome OS relies heavily on Google Drive and online services, while providing simplified management and security features suitable for schools. We have incorrect options such as Enterprise, Windows 11 Enterprise. This is we had already a question about Enterprise. This is for large. Excuse me, guys. This is for large corporate environments. macOS, Apple, Ubuntu Server intended for server deployments. And question 80. A cybersecurity analyst uses a Linux-based workstation for penetration testing and scripting tasks. The analyst must also access a proprietary Windows-only forensic application that requires full Windows kernel functionality and cannot run properly through compatibility layers such as Wine. The analyst wants to avoid dual booting because switching operating systems would interrupt active Linux network monitoring session and virtual lab environments. So which of the following solutions would best meet the analyst's requirements? So we try to confuse with all this scenario, but actually the question is not so complicated. So use a virtual machine to run Windows inside Linux. Configure a dual boot installation with separate partitions for Windows and Linux. Pay attention to the description of the question. Install the Windows application through a Linux package using a native kernel translation, or convert the Linux installation to a Windows subsystem for Linux WSL environment. So what do you think, guys, we are talking about here? Even on the exam, guys, you might see questions, the wording, yeah, they try to make it very, very complicated, and sometimes it is very, very simple question with simple answer, right? So don't think that when you see something very worded, complicated, it could be something that you have never heard before or something. No, you just need to figure it out, right? Well, use a virtual machine here, of course, to run Windows inside Linux, yeah? Running Windows inside the virtual machine allows the analyst to continue using Linux as the primary operating system while simultaneously accessing Windows-only software that requires full Windows kernel functionality. A dual boot configuration would require the analyst to reboot between operating systems interrupting active Linux sessions in workflows. We have Windows subsystem for Linux. This one runs Linux environments within Windows, not Windows environments within Linux. And Linux package managers cannot natively translate and execute Windows kernel level applications without virtualization or compatibility limitations. So we are continuing with question 81. A technician is preparing several aging office workstations for an upgrade to Windows 11. One of the systems has the following specifications. So, Intel dual-core processor running at 2.4 GHz, 8 GB of RAM, 500 GB SSD, DirectX 12 compatible GPU with WDDM2 driver, legacy BIOS firmware enabled, and TPM 1.2 chip installed. The installation assistant reports that the device does not meet the minimum requirements for Windows 11. So which of the following should a technician do first to make the system eligible for the upgrade? So there are specific requirements, minimum requirements, or recommended requirements for Windows 11. So let's see the options here. So the technician, what should he do to make the system eligible for the upgrade? Replace the graphics card with a DirectX 11 compatible adapter. Replace the SSD with a larger NVMe drive. Upgrade the TPM version and enable UEFI secure boot, or install an additional 8 GB of RAM. So what do you think, guys? You need to be familiar with the requirements, even with Windows 10. So I think we have questions for Windows 10 minimum and recommended requirements later on in this video. So the right answer here will be to upgrade the TPM version and enable UEFI secure boot. So here are the Windows 11 requirements. We are talking about the minimum. TPM second version, UEFI firmware secure boot enabled. Although the computer already exceeds the CPU, RAM, storage, and graphics requirements, it still fails compatibility because it uses TPM 1.2 instead of TPM 2.0. Legacy BIOS instead of UEFI secure boot as well, and the technician would typically enable UEFI mode in the firmware settings and convert the disk from MBR to GPT if necessary, enable secure boot and upgrade or enable TPM second version. The SSD size already exceeds the required 64 GB minimum. Installing additional RAM is unnecessary. Windows 11 only requires 4 GB minimum. DirectX 11 is actually lower than the required DirectX 12. So here I have created for you basically all the minimum requirements for Windows 11. If you want, you can take a screenshot or whatever. So these are the minimum one. For the processor, you need at least 1 GHz or faster. It needs to be dual-core CPU, 64-bit compatible, or system on a chip. The RAM must be minimum 4 GB. Disk space minimum 64 GB or larger, and the graphics card needs to be DirectX 12 compatible with a second version of the WDDM driver. The display resolution must be minimum 1280 by 720, and the screen size at least 9-inch or larger. We have some system requirements such as trusted platform module needs to be TPM2, UEFI firmware with secure boot enabled. We have also some internet requirements such as Microsoft account required for setup on Windows 11 Home, and internet required for updates and activation, right? So these are the minimum requirements for Windows 11. Moving on, question 82. A technician notices that several newly deployed Windows 11 laptops feel slow when users run spreadsheets, video conferencing applications, and multiple browser tabs simultaneously. The laptops currently meet only the minimum Windows 11 requirements. Which of the following upgrades would most improve multitasking performance according to recommended specifications? So, disabling TPM2 to free system resources, reducing display resolution to 1024 by 768, increasing RAM from 8 GB to 16 GB, switching from SSD storage to a traditional hard disk. So basically, this one is easy because the answers, we can just eliminate the ones which doesn't make sense, and the one that is going to remain is this one. Just increase RAM from 4 GB to 16 GB. On the next slide, we're going to see the recommended requirements for Windows 11, which are a little bit slightly different from the minimum ones. Okay, so Windows 11 minimum RAM requires it's 4 GB, yeah, but recommended multitasking performance is much better with 16 GB RAM. And additional RAM, it will improve application responsiveness, browser multitasking, virtual meetings, background task handling, and memory caching. Here are the recommended requirements for Windows 11. For the processor, we need 2 GHz or faster with 4 or more cores. For RAM, the recommended is 8 GB, okay, just for the normal user. But also, if you see on the exam some kind of simulations, a gaming computer, better to choose 16 GB. This 16 GB is recommended for multitasking and gaming. And in this question, we have multitasking. So that's why upgrading the RAM to 16 GB, even though it has the minimum one, but this is the recommended for multitasking. Disk space 128 GB, SSD or larger, graphic card dedicated GPU with DirectX 12 support, and this is the screen size, the display resolution, which is the recommended one, 1920 by 1080 and larger than 9-inch. Security enhancements, we need to have BitLocker encryption for added data security along with the minimum ones. A technician is troubleshooting why a 32-bit Windows 10 installation cannot start on an older laptop. We have 1 GB RAM, 16 GB storage, DirectX 9 graphics, and we have this type of resolution, 800 by 600 display. So which of the following is the most likely issue? The laptop requires a dedicated graphics card, the CPU is running below 1 GHz, the system requires UEFI secure boot, or the display resolution must be 1920 by 1080. Well, here we cover the requirements might be the CPU is running below 1 GHz. So the listed hardware already matches the minimum requirements for Windows 10. Unfortunately, guys, still you need to know the minimum requirements for Windows 10 and the recommended requirements for Windows 10 as well, along with Windows 11 for this exam version. So make sure you know them as well. In this video, you can save as a, you can take a screenshot of the minimum and the recommended requirement, but yeah, make sure you remember them. So, like we said, the listed hardware already matches the minimum requirements for Windows 10, such as 1 GB of RAM, 16 GB storage, and DirectX 9 graphics, 800 by 600 display. So if installation still fails, the remaining likely issue is that the processor speed does not meet the minimum 1 GHz requirement. Here they are our minimum requirements for Windows 10. For the processor, we have 1 GHz or faster, compatible with PAE, NX, and SSE2 support. For RAM, we have in Windows 10, we have 32-bit and 64-bit, right? For 32-bit, 1 GB of RAM is the minimum. For 64-bit, 2 GB of RAM. Disk space, again, for 32-bit, 16 GB, and for 64 bits, 20 GB of storage. Graphics card must be DirectX 9 compatible GPU with WDDM 1.0 driver. Display resolution, this is the minimum, 816, and the network, we need internet connection for updates and activation. Okay, this question is again, now we're talking about the recommended requirements. I hope these videos are helping you to memorize and to see what kind of possible questions you might have on the exams. So let's see what we have here. A user complains that their Windows 10 Pro laptop feels sluggish when running multiple browser tabs, Microsoft Teams meetings, and spreadsheet applications simultaneously. So the laptop's specifications are: we have 1 GHz dual-core processor, 2 GB of RAM, 64 GB SSD, and DirectX 9 graphics card. And we have the resolution 1920 by 1080. So which of the following upgrades would most improve the system to align with recommended Windows 10 performance guidelines? We had disable broadband connectivity to reduce background usage, upgrade the RAM to 8 GB, replace the SSD with a 5400 RPM HDD, or lower the display resolution to 800 by 600. What do you think? Now we're going to see the recommended requirements for Windows 10. Here again is going to be the answer: upgrade the RAM. Okay, the system currently only meets basic minimum requirements, and the recommended Windows 10 specification suggests 4 GB or more RAM and 8 GB recommended for 64-bit systems and multitasking. And when we increase the RAM, it will improve multitasking, browser responsiveness, and video conferencing performance, such as also as memory caching. Here are the recommended requirements for Windows 10. For processor, we have 2 GHz or faster, dual core or better, 4 GB of RAM or 8 GB if we are gonna do 64-bit OS. Disk space 20 GB for 32 and 40 GB for 64-bit. Graphics card DirectX 12 compatible GPU, and display 1920 by 1080 resolution or higher, and network we need some kind of broad connection for the cloud services and updates. So basically the minimum requirements, you can install Windows 10 or 11 with the minimum requirements, but it might be slow. The system might be very slow. That's why we have recommended requirements. So when you meet all these recommended requirements, that makes sure that your system will be running smoothly. A help desk technician notices that the company laptop takes several minutes to become usable after startup. The technician suspects multiple unnecessary applications are launching automatically during boot. Which of the following Task Manager tabs should the technician use first? Performance tab, Users tab, Processes tab, or Startup tab? Right now, you can just open your Task Manager and have a look at it. Open each one of these tabs and you will see the right answer. And also from the question itself, we are talking about starting up. So that will be the Startup tab. When you go to that tab, you're going to see all applications that are starting when your system is starting. You can enable them, disable them. So make sure you're familiar with the Task Manager, what you can do there, what you can see, what you can monitor, because I'm sure you might have some kind of questions on the exam. As you can see, we can view the startup impact ratings, we can disable unnecessary startup applications, so we can basically improve boot performance. It will boot faster, and the system will load faster when we disable some systems, some processes that we don't use, and we can troubleshoot slow logins. Question 86. A system administrator remotely connects to a shared workstation and wants to determine which employee account is consuming excessive system resources. Which of the following Task Manager tabs would best help identify the logged-in user responsible? Users tab, Processes tab, Startup tab, Performance tab. I forgot to mention, guys, that I have simulations about Windows 10 and 11 requirements. So basically, it is in my channel. You can have a look. Also, I have some simulations in my Patreon page. So you can also have a look there as well for for CompTIA A+, for Network Plus, for Security Plus. I have simulations in my Patreon page, and also I have Udemy courses as well. Right answer here, it is the Users tab. So the Users tab displays logged-in users, resource usage per user session, CPU consumption, memory usage, and session status. This is useful for shared when we have shared systems, remote desktop servers, and multi-user environments. As you can see, now we are on the Users tab. We have only one user here. When we expand this, we're going to see all the processes, all the tasks that are running. And as you can see, now we can see the CPU, how much of these processes affect the CPU, the memory, disk, and the network. Also, we can run a new task, we can disconnect, we can manage user accounts from here as well. A technician installs a new 2 TB SSD into a desktop computer. After booting into Windows, the drive does not appear in File Explorer, even though the BIOS detects it correctly. So which of the following MMC snap-ins should the technician use first? So we have cert mgr.msc, disk mgmt.msc, or perfmon.msc, and def mgmt.msc. So basically, how to access this? You can just open your run Windows R and type this, and you'll be able to open them. you can also just type their name, for example, performance monitor, disk management, also certification, and also you can type it in your taskbar on the search bar. Just type, let's say, performance monitor, task scheduler. You can type it and you'll be able to open it from there. But MMC snap-ins, basically, this one creates you to add some of these features. So basically, you can have them together in one window for easy troubleshooting, monitoring, etc. Right? What are we talking about now? What we are going to open, that we're going to be disk MGMT, which is the disk management feature. And basically, this one is used to initialize new disks, create partitions, format volumes, assign drive letters, extend or shrink partitions. A newly installed drive, they often appears as unallocated, offline, or uninitialized, and you need to initialize them or allocate space for them, right? Here, how it looks like. And I might make a simulation. For example, I will create some kind of requirements, and we are going to do some allocation, we're going to create some volumes, etc. So you can see how disk management basically works and how we can separate disks, etc. Right? A system administrator wants a Windows computer to automatically execute a PowerShell backup script every night at 2 a.m. without user interaction. So which of the following MMC snap-ins should the administrator use? We have task SCHD, loss-r mgr, event VWR, or GP edit. These are all snap-ins, they call them, but also you can find all these in the control panel and through the search bar in Windows. So what is the right answer? We have a task scheduler as a right answer here. With task scheduler, basically you can create a task and basically add a task that is going to run automatically, such as automate scripts in our case, schedule maintenance tasks, trigger events, launch applications automatically. And tasks that can be configured to run at logon, startup, on schedule, or on a specific events. And here is basically how it looks like. You can open it with also, you need to be aware how to access the task scheduler. So you might have questions like that on your exam, right? Question 89. A technician notices that a laptop's wireless adapter is malfunctioning after a recent driver update. The technician wants to roll back the driver to a previous version. Which MMC snap-in should the technician use? Dev MGMT, Cert MGR, Event Viewer, or Disk Management? What is the right answer here? That will be the Dev MGMT snap-in. And with this, basically, we can update drivers. As you can see, disable device. When you see disable device, basically that means you're removing the driver, right? And like you see, we can manage hardware devices, update drivers, roll back drivers, disable, enable devices, and troubleshoot hardware conflicts. This is primarily a tool for resolving driver-related issues, right? All these you need to know, and that's why we're going to each question to explain all these snap-ins, what you can do with them. And this is question 90. A technician needs to disable a former employee's local account on a standalone Windows workstation that is joined to a domain. Pay attention, it is joined to a domain. So which MMC snap-in should the technician use? Event VWR, which is the event viewer, loss-r mgr, perfmon, or GP edit. Local group users computers. This is the right answer here. Local users and groups. This one is used to create local users, disable accounts, modify group memberships, and reset passwords, manage local security groups, and more. This is mainly used on standalone systems or local administration scenarios. Okay, so make sure, guys, you remember that. We have group policy editor. This manages system policies rather than account management. We are continuing with question 91. A support technician needs to access this folder, basically, which is in F department HR policy folder. He needs to access this from the command prompt before running a troubleshooting utility stored in that location. So which command should the technician use? Yeah, we have cd F department HR policies, basically the same path which he wants to access. To run the command, we have chkdsk command with the disk F column, and we have the dir command with the disk department HR policies. Again, the same path is here, and mkdir, again, department HR policies. What is the command? And that will be cd, the cd command, guys. So the cd basically means change directory. It is used in the Windows command line to move between directories. In this scenario, the technician must navigate to this path, to this folder, before running the utility, and then he must use the cd and then type the path. If you want to go one step back, you can type cd and then ... and it will move you one step back of the file management. The other commands, we have the dir command. You also need to know it for the exam. Basically, this command displays the content of the folder. chkdsk basically will scan the disk for file system errors and bad sectors, and we have mkdir. So this command, when you use it, you can create a folder, a new folder, a new directory. So make sure you know these commands. And my advice to you guys, just open the command prompt and just type each of these commands. You can type the commands, for example, cd, then space, then backslash, question mark, and then it will show you all information how to use that command if you don't know it. Just play with them so you can get familiar. A technician suspects that a Windows workstation has file system corruption after an unexpected power outage. The technician wants to scan the drive and automatically repair detected errors. So which command should the technician use? Disk part, format C drive, sfc space / scan now, or chkdisk / f and then C column. Again, important command, might come up on the exam or not. We don't know, but you need to know it. You need to know it, Even when you start work, you might use it sometimes. Not that it's gonna help you too many times, but sometimes it might help you. You never know. So the command I'm talking about is this one, guys. chkdsk and then /c. So this command, when you type it like that, basically to check the C drive, because we have typed C here, and if it finds some system errors, it will repair them automatically, right? Because we're using the F switch. The F switch tells the utility to fix errors. That's how you can remember. Fix, F fixes. Basically it will find the errors during the scan and it will fix them automatically. It is commonly used, to be fair, after improper shutdowns, power failures as well, or disk-related issues. We have the other commands, incorrect one. Format C command, this is incorrect, of course, because it will completely erase the content of the drive. In this case, it will be C drive. We have sfc space / scan now. This is basically the system file checker command and scans and repairs corrupted Windows system files, not file system errors. So don't get confused with chkdisk and sfc scan now. Disk part, this is a disk management utility, and it is used for tasks such as creating, deleting, and managing partitions and volumes. Also, you can do all these using the graphical user interface, also with disk part command. A company is replacing several standalone workgroup computers with a centralized Windows domain environment. After the migration, the IT department wants to enforce password complexity requirements, automatically apply security settings to all company laptops, and centrally manage user accounts from a single server. So which technology combination would best meet these requirements? A workgroup with local user accounts and NTFS permissions configured individually on each PC. Disk management with separate partitions configured for each department. A peer-to-peer network using shared folders and local administrator accounts. Active Directory with group policy configured on a domain controller. We're talking here about Active Directory. You might get this also on your interview. What is Active Directory? But Active Directory, make sure you remember, it's a centralized management system. Yeah, you can manage users' computers there. It's not local like the workgroup. So this is the right answer. Let's go to the explanation so you can see and understand more. Active Directory provides centralized management of user accounts, computers, and network resources within a Windows domain. And group policy allows administrators to automatically enforce security settings, password policies, software restrictions, and other configurations across all domain joint devices. And together, they provide centralized administration and security management for enterprise environments. You need to know what's the difference between workgroup and a domain, and that's what this question is telling you about. A workgroup with local user accounts and NTFS permissions, this is configured individually on each PC. This is incorrect because workgroups do not provide centralized authentication or centralized policy management. Each computer must be managed separately in a workgroup, making administration difficult in larger environments. A peer-to-peer network using shared folders and local administrator account, again incorrect, because peer-to-peer networks, they're designed for small environments and lack centralized management. Just remember, domain environment, centralized management, workgroup, decentralized. And I suggest you guys, it will be much easier to have, if you are a beginner, if you want to land your first IT job, just create a virtual environment. Yeah, just download some of the virtual software such as VMware Workstation, or maybe you can use your Hyper-V on your Windows, and then just install add Windows Server 2025 or 2022, whatever, and then basically install Active Directory on that server, and that becomes a domain controller. And then you can also basically install some Windows 11 Pro computers, and then you can simulate some kind of enterprise environment. You'll be able to add these computers to a domain. You'll be able to do a lot of stuff, creating users, resetting passwords and stuff. So it will be very useful for you to understand Active Directory, and you'll be doing that on your first IT job, such as help desk, IT support, etc. A help desk technician joins a Windows 11 workstation to a company domain. The user reports that the new password policy and desktop restrictions configured by the administrator are not being applied correctly. The technician wants to verify which group policy objects are currently applied to the user and computer. So which command should the technician use? Netuser, gp update, space, /force, gp result, /r, or sfc scan now. That's what I'm talking about, guys. We have another question about domain. And this one happens often, yeah? So when you edit a policy in Active Directory, a GPOs, that policy applies within 90 minutes, right? And you need to use some command to force that policy to take effect immediately, which is the gp update command with the switch force. But here we are not talking about that. We are talking about that something the user reports what new passports they're not being applied correctly. So we need to see the user what group policy the user is part of, right? The computer. And we can do that by running the gp result with the switch R. This is the right answer here. It will display the resultant set of policy, RSOP, for both the user and the computer. It shows which group policy object have been successfully applied. And this one makes it very, very useful for troubleshooting domain policy issues in Active Directory environments. The other options, such as gp update force, I already told you about this. It will basically refresh and reapply from the domain controller. It will force basically that policy to be applied right now. For example, if you make some changes to the password length or password complexity requirements. When you use that command, it will force them. It will force them to take effect. And we have SFC scan now. Again, we already talked about this one. Scans and repairs corrupted Windows system files unrelated to group policy troubleshooting. And net user, again, another important command, net user. This is used to view or manage user account information such as passwords and account properties, right? So this is a good command as well. A small accounting office has 8 Windows computers connected on the same network. Each computer stores its own local user accounts and security settings, and employees must log in separated to each machine they use. The office manager wants a simple setup without purchasing or managing a dedicated server. So which type of network configuration is most likely being used? So we have 8 machines here, and what type of configuration is being used here? Cloud-managed infrastructure using Microsoft Entra ID, peer-to-peer workgroup environment, enterprise network using centralized authentication servers, Windows domain with Active Directory and group policy. So Windows domain and Active Directory group policy, that's not going to be the right answer, because we have, as you can see in the question, each computer stores its own local user accounts and security settings and employees. So everything is local here. And the manager wants very, very simple setup without managing a dedicated server. So Windows Active Directory is out of the question. Here we are talking about work group environment, which is peer-to-peer. A Windows workgroup is a decentralized network model in which each computer manages its own local user accounts, shared resources, and security settings independently. So workgroups, they're typically used in small environments, usually with fewer than 10, so maximum 10 devices, because they're simple to set up and do not require a dedicated domain controller or centralized server. If you have more than 10 devices, you need to go to each one of those devices and creating accounts, etc., right? Windows domain with Active Directory group policy in this situation scenario is incorrect, because basically we have domain here, which provides centralized authentication and centralized management through the domain controllers, and user accounts and policies are managed from a central location rather than individually on each computer. The other options, they are also incorrect. Moving on to question 96. A technician is configuring an automated backup job on a Windows workstation. The requirement is to copy all files and subfolders from this location. Disk E, Departments, Finance, from this folder, which you see here, to this one, Nightly Backup, while ensuring that deleted files in the source are also removed from the backup location, so both folders remain identical. So which command should the technician use? We have the robocopy command with the path to the finance folder, and then to the we path to the nightly backup, and then /mir. And then we have xcopy with the same path. First, this folders, this path, and then this folder, the nightly backup. Again, we have just the copy command, and again the same path, and we have a robocopy and the same path, just we have a different switch, which is copy all. So what are we looking at here? What is the right options? Option, only one correct answer here, and that will be the robocopy with the mir switch, right? So with the mir switch, robocopy command with this switch creates a mirror of the source directory in the destination directory. Yeah. So this means all files and subdirectories are copied, and files deleted from the source are also removed from the destination. So both locations, they remain synchronized, and this makes it ideal for backup and replication tasks. Xcopy. Well, this one is incorrect. It does not remove files from the destination that were deleted from the source. Yeah. And we have the copy with the same path, again incorrect. The copy command is designed just for copying files, not entire directory structures with synchronization features. And we have a robocopy with the copy all switch, again incorrect, because copy all, when you use this type of switch with the path and the destination, copies all the information, including permissions and attributes. It does not mirror deletions between the source and destination folder. Question 98. A technician installs a custom inventory management application on a Windows 11 workstation. After installation, the application fails to communicate with the company server, although the network connection is functioning correctly. The technician suspects that Windows security settings are blocking the application's network traffic. So which action should the technician take first to allow the application to communicate on the network? Configure the application to run in compatibility mode. Run GP update force from an elevated command prompt. Create an exception in Windows Defender Firewall, or disable user account control from the control panel. Right answer here will be to create an exception in Windows Defender Firewall. So because Windows Defender can block inbound or outbound network traffic for applications that are not explicitly allowed. So creating a firewall exception permits the application to communicate through the firewall while still maintaining overall system security. And this is the most appropriate first troubleshooting step when an application cannot access network resources despite a working network connection. A technician is assisting a user who has difficulty using a standard keyboard and mouse because of limited hand mobility. The technician needs to configure features such as narrator, magnifier, sticky keys, and on-screen keyboard settings in Windows 11. So which control panel or settings category should the technician access? Ease of access, administrative tools, time and language, or update and security? And that will be ease of access. This question is easy. Ease of access category in Windows contains accessibility features designed to help users with visual, hearing, and mobility impairments. It includes tools such as narrator, magnifier, sticky keys, filter keys, speech recognition, and on-screen keyboard. We have time and language. This basically is used to configure date and time settings, language packs, keyboard layouts, and regional preferences. Update and security is used for Windows Update, backup, recovery, activation, and security-related settings. And administrative tools basically contains advanced system management utilities such as Event Viewer, computer management services, task scheduler, and yeah, we are on a question 100. More videos to come, guys, for A+, Network+, Security+, exam practice questions, simulations, so make sure to drop follow, subscribe. A laptop user reports that after closing the lid, the system completely powers down to save battery life. But when the laptop is powered back on, all previously opened applications and documents are restored exactly as they were before shutdown. The user also notices that the battery does not drain while the laptop is off for long periods. Which power feature is most likely being used? Fast startup, hibernate, sleep, or hybrid sleep? Hibernate is the right answer here, because this mode saves the contents of RAM to the hard drive or SSD and then completely powers off the computer. When the system is turned back on, the previous session is restored exactly as it was. Because the system is fully powered down, Hibernate consumes virtually no battery power, making it ideal for laptops that will not be used for extended periods. We have the sleep option here. The sleep mode keeps the current session stored in RAM while placing the computer into a low power state. The system still consumes some battery power because the RAM remains powered. Fast startup, this basically is incorrect. It speeds up the Windows boot process by saving certain system files during shutdown. Does not preserve open user applications. Hybrid sleep combines features of sleep and hibernate, mainly for desktop systems. The session remains in RAM for quick wake up while also being saved to disk in case of power loss. Yeah, that's it, guys. See you on the next video. Good luck with your studies.